All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of OnTrack with DJ Tracktion. This time we're actually recording, which is great. If you noticed, for anyone who's actually following and listen to these every week, we usually post them on Thursday, late Thursday night, technically early Friday morning sometimes. But nothing went up yesterday because we recorded 3 hours of silent air. We had some technical difficulties, and when I say technical difficulties and I mean I fucked it up. That is pretty much what happened. We were recording, but the mic was basically muted and not live, so we didn't record shit. And
I will say though, we are going to post the silence. It was a beautiful silence.
I should have just post part 1 of this conversation. It sucks because it was a fun time. We talked about a lot of cool stuff.
We covered 3 hours worth of shit.
Yeah, we did. We covered 3 hours worth of stuff, and that no one will ever hear. So it's like, you know what it's like? This would be like Street Fighter 2, the game that everybody loves, right? Everybody knows of that game. Nobody I know has played Street Fighter 1. So this would be like part 2 of
Street Fighter 2
of the podcast, and nobody. I'm gonna actually call it part 2 when I upload it, and I'll have people looking for part 1 for like the rest of their lives. There was a classic mixtape back in the day too by this DJ J Love. He did like a best of Nas mixtapes, and there was a best of Nas part 2 that had a lot of like rare and unreleased tracks and some classic stuff, a couple remixes. Like it was really dope. And then there was a part 3 that still had unreleased stuff, but it was, you know, like newer stuff too was in there and everything, and it was still equally as dope. For the life of me and my cousin could not find part 1 to that. I don't know if it exists. You know?
This comedian Todd Glass had I think it was Todd Glass and Norm Macdonald did a show, and a Norm Macdonald's show, and it comes up as part 1, and I'm pretty sure they created no part 2. Like I think that was like a big part of like a joke they were playing, was that there was going to be a part 2 and there was just none.
There was also Lil Jon. Was it Lil Jon or was it It might not have been Lil Jon. I think it might have been DJ Drama. He did a bunch of mixtapes, especially like down south mixtapes and stuff for artists. And he was like really popping at the time, just doing a lot of artist mixtapes. And again, it was either him or Lil Jon. I remember them saying that they would put out mixtapes. I think it might have been the Gangsta Grill series, and they would just name it part like 4. They would just start on like 4 or 5, just to make people think like that they've been doing it for a while, and that they had a big catalog, but they would just start like in the middle somewhere.
That's kind of smart. I do that sometimes with stuff. Like I sell, actually I've never mentioned this. I sell like these fantasy props on Etsy, or I sell. I haven't sold any, but I have a marketplace, and at times I'll make it seem like things are like newer versions, or or like they're selling fast.
If you want to plug the actual URL, and maybe somebody actually go to it. You don't even know what it is.
It's on Etsy. It's I think it's called Potions and Poultices. I ended up changing the name a couple times.
What's a poultice?
A poultice is like, so a potion would be like liquid. A poultice would be something that's like, you have your lemongrass like, mashed up or
like
whatever.
The eye of the newt.
Yeah, exactly.
I got it.
And so I have like, for that I have like burlap bags, and they're all like weathered and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of fun. It was fun for me to do, and I figured I'd try.
Since I'm really happy that we got everybody back together again, to do this, and that we're actually recording, which is cool too. I am gonna pause it because I did not put this phone into airplane mode, and I don't want that fucking us up again.
Which is funny because
we remembered to do that yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So let's pause this. Okay, so there goes the pause. The phone is in airplane mode. We should have no interruptions. We're actually recording. This podcast should go live when we're done, and that makes me happy. So now, since this is technically our 3rd start at this, OnTrack podcast with DJ Tracktion, we have Mr. Foxy Jackson, and our guest today is Frank Hatsis. See, I remembered how to pronounce that from yesterday.
I don't know why people have a hard time with it.
Yeah,
it's such an easy name.
It's one of those things that's like simple, but people like they don't see it, and they're like they over try. They're like Hatsis.
Yeah, it's like so phonetically whatever. I don't even know how to say it.
Because it's like a trick question. You look at it and you're like, I know what that is, but I feel like it can't be that easy.
I have that every time I read a roster for like students. I'll just go down and be like, That's Joseph. Joseph. Okay.
And especially now, like they'll have like common names, but they'll be spelled like 5 different ways. So you're looking at it and you're like, how? I know that name. I know it.
Well, also I'm in the Bronx, so
Yeah, it's like, but this is spelled a little weird. So what do I go with?
I have some J. Quellens and A. Aarons in my class. You've seen that Key and Peele sketch, right? The substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I meant to send you one yesterday that I saw that was pretty funny. It was like the tone of text.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love that one. I thought that one was great.
That's why I hate actually texting people, especially if it's about anything important.
Me too.
Because you can't take the context that they're saying it in, and especially with me, I'm a sarcastic prick. So, so it could come off way not the way it should be taken if you're just reading the text. And that little skit that they did was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was great. That was like perfectly to the point.
I didn't see this.
They did.
It's really good.
It was like the one guy. Actually, which one's the tall one?
That's Keegan.
All right. So he is like in his kitchen and he was kind of excited. He's like, texting his friend and he's saying it out loud. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bar tonight. You still down, right? And then it gets to the other dude and you see him and he's like smoking weed in his basement and shit. And he's like, yeah, cool, whatever, man. And then he reads that back. He's like, whatever, man. Like, why are you giving me an attitude about it? Like, we had it planned. Like, yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah.
And he gets it back and he's like, yeah, I'm totally down, or, if you want, it doesn't matter. And then it gets to the point where, like, Keegan is just flipping out. He's like, this motherfucker. He's like, you want to go right now? And he's saying it like that. And he's looking at it like, oh, you want to go to the bar right now?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we can go right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then so he reads it back. He's like, this motherfucker thinks I'm playing. And then so he's like, meets him there. And Peels is like, I got the first round, meaning he's going to buy the first round of drinks. And he's thinking about, because they're about to fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they're going to be no second round. There's no round. And so they have Peel sitting at the bar. Keegan comes in with a spiked bat. And he turns around. He's like, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, first round's on me. He's like, what are you drinking? And then he's like, oh, yeah. He's like putting the bat down.
And now that we've ruined this entire skit for anyone that wants to see it.
Whatever, I don't even
want to see it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. I'm telling you, we didn't do it justice.
I was going to say, because Josh did a terrible job retelling this skit.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, his Keegan-Michael Key impression is, like, impeccable. You even look just like him.
That's that dry Fox Jackson humor we were talking about. I in no way pulled off a good impression of him. Nor was I trying, but... So, all right. I said we have a guest here, Frank Hatsis, who is kind of cool.
I'm kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
I'm not really cool.
He's making his way there.
I'm making my way there. I've got another few years to go, and I'll be as cool as Josh.
He's on the right path. Let's put it that way.
He's going to the Fonzie school, and he's in, like, 10th grade. He's about to graduate.
Making it to the studio today, that's what's getting me on my way to being cool. So.
2 days in a row, that's a lot of cool points that you're accumulating.
Awesome. Thank God.
So, obviously, you told us all of this yesterday. I'm going to make you repeat it again because that is lost in the ether and basically doesn't exist. So, you are into rope darts.
I am.
And nobody really knows what that is.
They do not.
Which is weird because, you know what? Nobody knows what it is until you explain it to them and they're like, oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
They're like, I saw that in a Chow Yun Fat movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know where they've seen it maybe. Like, oh, one of those like kung fu movies or something. You're like, oh, okay, I've seen that. And then obviously we talked about it yesterday, the character Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
Right.
He's get over here. And he's throwing out that rope with a dart on it. But he's throwing out a rope dart. That's what it is. It's a rope dart.
And I don't really get discouraged by people not being educated or knowing what the rope dart is because every sport or athletic thing in the world, somebody had to bring it to the forefront of people's lives. I mean, nobody knew what a kettlebell was until everybody knew what a kettlebell was.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about basketball until everybody was playing basketball. So, the guys, including myself, the Rope Dart Academy, are trying to not necessarily pioneer the rope dart in America because there's some great rope dart masters much older than us from decades ago in America. But we want to take it to the next level, and they did a great job introducing it. I wouldn't know what a rope dart was unless they were around, but it just ended there. We're trying to take it beyond that, get it into the mainstream.
I think you're in a good time to do that too because I mean, with the internet, you can just connect to everybody easily.
Internet's been a blessing, man.
Yeah, whoever. Like, sometimes you might be into something in your own town or whatever, and like, oh, nobody else is really into this, and you feel like you might be the only one in the world doing this thing. But now you can go online, and no matter what it is, even if it's something crazy weird and shit, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are into it, and you're going to find them.
And there are. And they make themselves very available to us. They reach out to us all the time. They want to know how they can get started, become part of the Rope Dart Academy. And we do keep our standards high when it comes to being an RDA Rope Dart Academy instructor. You have to walk the walk. So, you know, I say this all the time. Any idiot can go in their backyard with a camera, record something, and pretend they're the expert. We ask all of our RD people and everybody we network with to actually go out and do volunteer work. Show, you know, raise money for something good with a rope dart. Do something beyond what average people are doing. We have great fire spinners. You know, we bring in all kinds of rope darters. So we have the dance world embraces the rope dart. Obviously, the martial arts world embraces it. And we also have the fire spinning world. And these are people that are so dedicated and gifted in their craft, and they're starting to get work doing festivals and performances. And that's good because, you know, we want our people, our instructors, to be successful and have a great life with it. So.
That's awesome. I was just, when you said like the dance community, I was thinking, I was like, man, if somebody can get one of those into like the Electric Zoo Festival or something and dance with that, like is anybody putting like neon reflective paint on them?
I mean, they do have LED light rope darts and things of that nature, which is, I don't know, I'm not that impressed by it. I don't really care. I like the idea of either having a piece of metal or having it be on fire, because that's a skill.
Being on fire is awesome.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
Oh, I love, dude. I tell you, man, I tried it for the first time about a year ago, and it is very addicting. To just you are literally playing with fire, and you got to be safe. But it's and they do. I tell you, one of the best things about the fire spinning world is they're so conscious of the safety aspects of it. They all act in very professional, mature manners when they're doing it. And that, I didn't know anything about the fire spinning world, but that definitely took me by surprise as to how because these guys, you know, they look awesome. They're in costumes. They have pink mohawks. They have this, they have that. But when it comes down to doing the right thing and making sure that it's safe and enjoying or enjoyment for all, they step their game up and they make sure that everything goes the right way, and that's huge.
And it's not just, you know, costume as a gimmick. It's like they know what they're doing. The technique is there.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
That's cool. There are some DJs that are like that a little, where they might be doing some antics on stage and not actually DJing, and it's like, come on, man. You have a pre-recorded CD there. It's like, what are you doing? And then there are others that incorporate that, but are still actually performing and doing their set live and everything, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, you find that you can make a case for pretty much what you said for anything.
Yeah.
You know, being a DJ, doing the rope dart, trying to become a great chef, whatever it is. You know that somebody with a pre-recorded CD is like a chef that uses a microwave. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the DJ that gets up there and really is doing the DJ thing. That's the chef that's
there are
over
people.
the stove, you know?
There are people that fake the funk in every
in
every aspect of of whatever it is, without a doubt.
That's great. Fake the funk.
I feel like that would be a hot T-shirt. Don't fake the funk.
I'm sure it's already is a T-shirt. That's an old school phrase.
Sure, James Brown used to say that around his house.
He might have.
Speaking of T-shirts, you look great in that Dart Life shirt.
Yes, I have this. This was awesome. Like, we lost the whole fucking podcast, but we got to do it again. And throughout those awesome 3 hours we had, we didn't mention what about this shirt, basically. Like, I just got it today. I ordered it a couple weeks ago. I saw you post about it. Because you are going to Hong Kong, is it?
No. I'll be in Beijing. Shanghai, and Chizhou. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. Chizhou.
I think that's what my dog is. But it's like the Olympics of rope darting.
Well, it's considered the Olympics of wushu kung fu.
Okay.
And the rope dart is one aspect of that. So it would be in a flexible weapons division. So I would be competing against guys with a chain whip or a 3-sectional staff or even a bull whip.
3-sectional staff.
Yeah, that's
badass
I remember seeing
weapon,
that
yeah.
like back in the day, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool.
Three-sectional staff is no joke, man. One of my favorite weapons. I used to compete with a three-sectional staff a long time before I picked up the rope dart. I've always been into the flexible weapons. I started with nunchucks. I was competing in nunchuck, with nunchucks when I was like 10, 11, 12.
Nice.
And yeah, it was cool. It was fun. It was a great introduction to the rope dart. Not that I knew it at the time,
Yeah.
but just having that flexible weapon background, it heightens up your proprioception and your ability to understand things around you in space and time, and that led itself almost very seamlessly into the rope dart.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if they want to get into the rope dart, pick up a pair of nunchucks first, give it a month or two, just swing it around, get an idea of something that is flexible or soft. They'll say it's a soft weapon.
I was gonna say, get the ones that have foam on the handles when you first starting. The first time you pick one up, because I used when I was real young too, nunchucks, and I remember having one of like a practice set that had like the foam on and everything. I'm like, all right, this is cool, and I was getting the hang of it, and I could do some basic stuff with it. And the first time I picked up a wood and chain one, I like beat the shit out of myself.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
really easy. To
And I was
just
like real young. I was like
knock
bruising
yourself
myself
out.
up and stuff. Yeah. You don't want to use that as the first time that you're practicing with it and have any experience with it, because you might knock yourself out.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I also don't recommend people babying themselves too much, because if you want to learn it and be proficient with it, because they have fire nunchucks too. The ends of it are on fire.
I have never seen that. I'm looking that up as soon as we're done with
Yeah,
that.
well, actually, there's a guy named Ken Hill that's freaking amazing with that kind of stuff. So definitely check his stuff out. But I think that if you actually want to get good with these things, you don't have to necessarily be a martial artist. But if you train things, and you're a martial artist, Josh, you know this better than anybody. If you train things the way a martial artist was, chances are good you're gonna get fantastic at it, because there's just a certain way of drilling and training and discipline.
Yeah, muscle memory.
Yeah, of course. And you see it a lot in the dance world too. Dancers are highly disciplined athletes, really, and they excel with this stuff just from the way that they train. So while using, say, foam padded nunchucks initially is okay, I think you'll get good when you start using a real pair, because you have to be good.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
That,
You need to be.
Yeah, the forced
Exactly.
need to not knock yourself out.
Same
Exactly.
thing, like the first time, like you could be training kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing, whatever, for as long as you'd like, but if you never spar,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, it's a whole new world.
It really is,
You
though,
know,
and it's crazy.
The second, what did Mike Tyson say? The
Yep,
second you get hit on-
everybody has a plan until you get
Yeah,
punched in the
that's what it
face.
is,
Yeah.
Yep, everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, and that's what you think too. I remember the first time I was in there, the first time I sparred, and the person knew it was my first time too, and he's like, yeah, we'll just go light and stuff. And I guess never being in there, I was like, well, what the hell is your regular if this was light? 'Cause he beat the
Right.
shit out of me for 3 minutes. It's
What was
basically
that?
what happened.
Oh,
I don't want to
yeah,
say.
yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
want to
don't
say
say it on the air. It's
Yeah,
fine.
because
Tell
it
me
wasn't.
later, I'm curious.
Yeah, it wasn't like I don't believe he was being a dickhead about it, and like obviously we sparred 100 times after that and
Right,
stuff.
right.
So I got my revenge, but no.
I'm sure you did, man.
So, but then it's just what it is. It's like, all right, I kind of have an idea of what I'm gonna do, and then I got punched in the face, and I was like, "What? I have no idea what I'm gonna do now."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, especially, I mean, he probably just knows what he's doing so well that it's hard
oh,
to
it's just
be
automatic.
bad at it.
Exactly.
You know? Like,
What there are times that since then, after knowing what I'm doing and being somewhat good at it and stuff, going in with someone else that's somewhat good at it, even when we just try to spar light as a warm up, it gets into almost a real session.
Of course.
Because you can't
Especially when Ray walks over.
Yeah, right.
Ray starts watching you, it goes from sparring to now you're fighting.
Yeah.
Because you want to look good in front of
so,
Ray.
so now we were talking about this. We're talking about Ray's Pizzeria, right?
Yeah, that is Ray Longo's MMA, which is now technically Law MMA, which is Longo and Weidman.
Yes.
Chris Weidman, the
UFC champ,
UFC champ. But it's middleweight.
middleweight.
Yeah, middleweight champ.
An all around fantastic freaking guy.
He really
He's
is.
really just a cool dude.
Yeah, he really is. It was real surreal watching that, because when you're a part of like a gym and a team and a camp and stuff like that, and just to see somebody, I mean, we got to see him in the amateur.
Yeah.
And just like.
Well, not. I mean, he was in the.
Well,
it was pro, but
yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
the big
He
time
didn't.
show.
Exactly. Like one of like the minor league pro.
Exactly,
Shows, kinda,
yeah.
You know, so like you got to see him in that, and just work his way through it into the UFC, and then get this shot at basically a legend. I mean, he beat Anderson Silva, who
Twice.
yeah, who up until that time was considered like the best ever.
Right.
Like there was very few arguments that you can make that he wasn't the best ever. And he went in there and did what he said he was going to do, basically.
Yep.
And it was awesome watching it.
Yeah, it was great.
And then I was lucky enough I got to watch it with, like 30 of the people from the gym and stuff. We all went to one of the other instructors' houses, and it was like, I compared it to being like in Yankee Stadium at like, Game 7, bottom of the ninth,
right,
and like Jeter hits a walk-off or something like that. Like that's what it was. Everybody was just going crazy and stuff. It was cool.
But that wasn't even like you were just in the stadium. Like I feel like you're almost like part of like the B team in that situation. Like you'd be in the Joe's Yankees.
Well, I was thinking yesterday when we were talking about it and mentioned that we both been training for a long time and stuff, and I'm getting back into it. I had some amateur fights, and we said it was training like nonstop. It was almost like a full-time job. It was about 5 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week.
Yep.
And it was everything from, warm up would be like a 2-mile run into maybe some bag work, into an actual Muay Thai class, into circuits after that, and then maybe you got to go run the hills. So yeah, and then sparring. I remember I was like, I'd warm up with sparring, actually.
Right. Yeah.
So it was that constantly. And now it's like, all right, I'm trying to work my way back to that. Even if I don't fight again, I just want to be in fighting shape, really. That's what I want to be in.
Badass, man.
Yeah, it is way different than any other type of shape you think you might be in.
Right. It's, I tell you, it was funny when we were, because, Josh and I, DJ Tracktion and I were in basically, like 3 or 4 fight camps in a row for a year or something?
I was in 4 in a row.
Yeah, 4 in a row. So that's what he just said about the training for about a year out of your life. And I remember that probably after the second, I fought the first time, then for the second card, the guy didn't show up. But, we're training hard. And I remember there were times where I'd just be hanging out, and all of a sudden I would get this feeling of absolute physical power that I can run faster than anybody. I could beat anybody up. I can do that. It didn't matter. I could jump out of a building and survive. I could, save a baby. Whatever it was, I could do anything. And then I started thinking, oh, wow, you know what else you could do? You could probably rob a bank. You could probably, I started thinking of all these things. I was like, whoa. I told myself, I'm like, Frank, you're actually turning into a super villain now.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. Like, you need to, what is it, Peter Parker's uncle. With great power comes great responsibility. And I felt it. I was like, wow, I'm thinking of dastardly things I could do with this physical power that nobody could even come close to. And it's not a testament to me at all. It's a testament to the gym we came from and the hard work we put in. I mean, nobody was beating us for shit. It just, in anything. It was crazy.
And it's really funny when you see it in something like that, at the actual fights, when people from some other gyms that you can just tell, it's like, wow, they're not training the same way.
Not even
you can
close.
just tell when the fight, not even like in my fight, like I could tell the guy I fought wasn't training the same way, but you can just see it in the other fights. Yeah. It's like, they're not doing it the same way.
Well, I saw for my third fight, I saw the guy warming up upstairs in the green room, and I just watching him hit pads, I was like, I'm gonna fucking tear this guy. I knew it watching him. I was like, dude, you're not even, you don't have a chance. You do not have a chance. And I did beat him, which was cool. But part of it, I think, was that I went in with that kind of confidence.
Yeah, you went in knowing.
I went in 100% certain I was going to beat this guy.
Yeah, there's a whole science to it of PMA and people just doing things and knowing that you can do it, and that it's being part of the execution.
We did visualization exercises in high school wrestling. At the end of practices, especially leading up to when we had meets and stuff, the last 20 minutes of practice would just be lights out, everybody laying down, and just going through what's going to happen.
Yep.
Going through it in your head, seeing it, and it would go for each round. He would talk us through each round, think about what you're going to do, what's going to happen, how you're going to react if you get in this position or whatever situation happens. And then all the way to the end where now see your hand getting raised at the end.
Yeah.
Talking all the way through it. And I know even, I can remember hearing something about Phil Jackson talking about the same stuff, doing those type of exercises. I think maybe Kobe was talking about it, about Phil Jackson or something like that, about they would do the same thing, and this is someone who has 6, 7, 8, whatever world championship, rings in the NBA and stuff. So that's a real important thing. I know Truck Gordon, who was season 19 winner of the Ultimate Fighter, is like into that as well. He posts a lot of stuff from like The Secret, which is really, you can say what you want about it, but it's all based on the same thing, just thinking about it. Like, you might not believe that you could think it into existence the way it describes, maybe, but that type of thinking can definitely put you in the mood to expect it, you know? And just...
I am all about The Secret, Josh. I have all the books by Rhonda Byrne.
I don't know if you see the DVD up there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've seen the movie. The latest book I picked up by Rhonda Byrne is Hero, because she had The Secret, The Power, The Magic, and now it's The Hero.
Okay.
I've read all of them. They're fantastic. I totally believe in that stuff. And not that I just totally believe in it, I see it actually happening in my real life. So it's not enough to read the book, but actually going into the practice of doing it. And that's why The Magic, her third book, is really important. Because to get through the book, she literally, not that she forces you to, but if you want to get the benefit...
She pops out and puts a gun to your head and is like, listen...
But she gives you exercises to do that. You have to do on a daily basis. And then all of a sudden you turn around one day, you're like, wow, I'm kind of a wizard right now. And I didn't realize that I had access to this universal power. And it's extremely liberating. It's freeing. It's extremely powerful. And I recommend that stuff to everybody.
And you can use it to rob banks if you want.
Well, you don't want to do that. But you know what also is good from The Secret is that I also were turned on to other people like Joe Vitale, Bob Proctor. These are guys that are doing this stuff anyway. This stuff that is a secret, quote unquote, that literally is known by, basically by comparison, a small select few, but they are bringing it to everybody's consciousness.
I think Will Smith is really into it too, actually. Yeah. I've heard him talk about it.
I tell you, most successful people are. Yeah. I know, believe it. No. Most successful people are because they have, whether they realize it or not, sometimes they read the book, they start applying it, and then they're like, wow, it worked. Or sometimes it was already working for them. They read the book and they're like, holy crap, I've been doing this the whole time. I had no idea. So... whatever, read The Secret. People can say whatever they want about it. The book is fantastic. The movie's great. If you want to watch.
It's all we had talked a few podcasts back about just frequencies and wavelengths too.
It's the truth.
And it all ties in.
Yep.
Like the way you think about stuff definitely ties in. I mean, you can see it just in an example of like the placebo effect.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could just taking sugar pills and your arm is feeling better because you think you're taking Advil or whatever it is.
I'm so glad you said that because that's the biggest argument against all the naysayers is like, well, have you heard of the placebo effect? All right, well, if it could work in that sense, why can't it work in this sense?
And that's physical. Right. That is actually changing something that's physically happening just because you're thinking that it should happen.
Right.
That's
amazing stuff. It really is. And people should be more open to the idea and not necessarily reject it right off the top. And, it takes, what it is? The problem is that it takes faith. And people lack faith. They might say, I have faith. I go to church every Sunday, which is bullshit to me, honestly. Like, who cares? Who cares that you go to church every Sunday?
It's also...
Sorry for anybody in here that's religious. Goes to church. It's a good thing, but it's like pray every night. Do that as opposed to going for 1 hour. Pick up a piece of garbage on the ground. Go... help somebody do something, because that is what the church is trying to tell you to do. Going and sitting in a church for an hour every Sunday doesn't do shit. It doesn't. So, they're trying to say all the right things, but they're not really telling you how to apply it.
And put it into practice that matters.
Application is power. So, apply what you're learning here, but people don't do it. They think, all right, I did the hour... God, we good? We're good? Okay, great.
We're cool
awesome.
Now, right?
Yeah, we're cool.
I got some credit? All right.
I got 6 days to fuck up, and then I'll be back again next Sunday, and you're just going to forgive it, and it's a wrap, right? Okay, great. I love this gig. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. We are Jewish, though. Do they do the same thing? I love the Jewish religion.
What it is,
you guys are great, awesome.
Technically half Jewish, but technically...
half Jewish.
I'm like nothing, because I
half believe that Christ is the Messiah.
Well, yeah, it's really weird, because it's
going to quarter go with it, what he said.
Yeah, so. It's like the...
so bad.
It's like the only one that... I don't want to say gets confused, but is also applied as a nationality as well.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a little odd. It's a little tricky. And I've heard
or a language. Oh, you speak Jewish? Like, well, I speak Hebrew.
It's like no, but those people are idiots.
Yeah.
You speak Jewish?
So technically, I'm nothing. So I'm just not religious at all. I'm not gonna say I'm agnostic or atheist either, or anything like that. I'm just not religious. You know.
No, I mean,
but what it is, Yom Kippur, is basically. If you don't eat from sunrise to sunset that day, it's like confession. So all your sins are absolved for the year.
Reset.
So you get it for a year. You don't got to do that for a day.
That's awesome.
It's not like going to confession every week or whatever those pagans don't know.
You know, can I tell you my only problem with Yom Kippur is that you're fasting for an entire day, and then as soon as the sun goes down, they just offer you the most disgusting food you could ever eat in your entire life. I don't understand. It's like, why?
There are very few appetizing Jewish dishes.
There are none, and I had this
No,
idea.
matzo ball soup is good. If you have good matzo ball soup, it's good.
It's okay.
Yeah, I
Fine.
guess it's like, I guess a piece of balled up cardboard in water, I guess, in broth.
Right.
But it's, I guess, also now that I'm thinking about it, it's comparing it to all the other Jewish food. So it's like, well, I have to pick something good out of this to eat.
Well, also, I think if you put enough seasoning in a soup,
Yeah, you put some
you
salt and
can make
pepper in it.
anything good.
Yeah, some sea
so
salt,
a
some
little
pepper in that
bay leaf
matzo
or
ball soup.
something, you know.
Yeah, you're good. So a good matzo ball soup I can enjoy. Potato latkes are like, okay, those
Oh, actually, I like
those
potato
aren't
latkes.
bad, you know, but it's also, they're like hash browns.
That's actually, you know what? I'll tell you that. Potato latkes are delicious.
That's the thing. I'm not a
Absolutely.
big potato person, but yeah, but potato latkes are. I like them. They're basically fried, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's just hash browns. Is
I've got no fucking
basically
problem
what
with
it is.
fried food.
And typically, that was good. And typically they put like serve it with applesauce and put applesauce on it.
Oh, that
Which is
sounds
weird.
to me. But
Yeah, I mean,
I'll have mine on the side.
I skip the applesauce.
the
Yeah.
most
Do-
disgusting thing is the gefilte fish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I'm
is
not-
like-
I'm not a big fish person to begin with. I like some fish, but yeah, especially if it's a whole fish.
And I don't understand. Trust me, I have no idea what it's in. Like what it sits in the jar. It's like some type of like it looks like a Jello or jelly type of.
It's like it's pickled, right?
Kinda, I guess, but it doesn't look like a jar of pickles. So it's not like it's something solid in there, or that becomes solid over time or something. I don't know.
It's probably the
'Cause
same
on-
thing as like
it's
like head cheese.
Kind of makes
you
the
know?
fish like slimy and stuff. Like you see,
Ah.
I have distinct memories of it during because like when I was younger, especially, you know, the Jewish side of my family, like my dad's side and my stepmom as well. So we celebrated Jewish holidays when I was on Long Island for 'em. Parents were divorced. I lived with my mom, and she technically converted to marry my dad. But then when they broke up, she's like, "Yeah, okay."
Why is it always the Catholics converting to the Jews? Can we get some Jews converting to Catholicism? Not that I'm into Catholicism, but it's always I always hear the Catholic guy has to become the Jew.
I
When
think
is
it's
it
because,
the Jew?
I
Well,
think it's
no.
because
Well,
people
my
don't
dad
have
was
a problem,
already-
like you know, Catholics can marry Jews, but I think
Right.
like for a lot of like steadfast Jews, like they don't
Yeah.
want them marrying out of the religion. So
Exactly.
they need
I
to
think
get over
that's
it.
I
Which-
think that's a big part.
Which is now when I look back at it, it's kind of funny because my dad is like definitely doesn't believe in religion at all. You know, so it's pretty funny that a guy like that who basically believes when you die, that's it. You fucking decompose and there's no nothing. You know what I'm saying? You're just
Well,
you
he's
have
half
no
right.
idea.
You definitely decompose.
You know,
but
so like that's his feeling on it. But it's funny that he still like somehow was like, all right, but first to get married, you have to be Jewish, so make it happen. I guess, you know, obviously this is before I was born, so I don't know how that conversation went, but
yeah, I have a good friend who converted to Judaism because he married his wife, and he had to get recircumcised. And
Wait.
since he was already
what?
Since he was already circumcised, they just had to draw blood from the area or something. That's at least what he told me.
yo, that is some true love.
Yeah,
That-
right?
he was-
Yeah.
It's like I want to know at what point in the like getting married process that she sprung this on him.
I
like
wonder,
that
I
he
wonder if
found
that's
out.
ever been like the point for someone where like, never mind, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
the
worth it.
guy's at the temple in the tuxedo. It's like, by the way, forgot to mention.
Exactly. It's like, you know how we have a ring bearer here? Well, someone else is gonna come down the aisle and
I'll have a little ring-shaped device.
we're gonna use that. We're gonna use that pillow for something else too. That would. I don't know. I would have to give it some serious thought as to like, ooh, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna go through with this. Why don't we just go to Vegas or something? I'm sure we can find a temple there that'll just marry us. Like,
Well, what's weird is there's a whole movement now of people who are saying like that circumcision is wrong, and I don't know how I feel about it, so I don't want to agree or disagree with them. But like, I guess see what they're saying, like it's a form of like mutilation, but I hear it's also like hygienic, so I don't really know where I stand on it.
Yeah.
But I
Technically,
think it's so
piercing your
interesting.
ears is a form of mutilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
So
all
getting
piercings.
a tattoo or anything like that is a form of mutilation.
but I
so.
think the problem is
But
you
know,
make
don't,
that choice.
you don't give a baby a tattoo. You know,
Exactly, and
Right,
then you
right.
get to make the choice for yourself if you want to pierce yourself or have a tattoo or any of that.
Okay, fair
You
enough.
don't get to choose whether you want to be circumcised. I don't take a stand either way either.
Yeah.
Since I had no choice and I'm just used to mine that way, I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I really have no problem with it, you know.
Seems
and
to have worked out for me.
And I feel like if
so.
you're gonna get it done, might as well be when I'm a fucking baby. I'm
was
gonna have
gonna
no
say, right?
memory of it whatsoever.
Can you imagine at your age, I'll be like, oh, by the way, you want to get circumcised? What's that? Well, we chop your dick. Or part of your dick. It's like, well, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, they have that in Robin Hood Men in Tights, right?
Yeah.
When Mel Brooks shows up.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Man, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
you
a
guys
classic.
you don't have to fight. Look, I'm on the left side. I'm on the right side. And then, well, it's funny, like, because it's obviously like slapstick and stupid, but one of the stupidest parts of that movie is also kind of one of the funniest. When he's like, gentlemen, he's like, lend me your ears, and they all like rip off an ear, and just his look when he's standing there, he's like, that's disgusting. It's just fucking hilarious.
His performance in that is great. He
Yeah.
does such a good like deadpan. Like,
Yeah.
Hilarious.
He recently put out a book, a Princess Bride, like book about the background of like the making of that movie. I love that movie. I
Yeah,
think
of
it's such
course.
a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also in the first Saw.
Oh yeah,
He was
yeah.
the guy trapped in wherever the fuck that room was.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Saw movies. I'm not really like into that sort of gore porn.
I'm not into gore at all.
Yeah,
man.
I like if it's like a passing gore, like a Tarantino movie, people are getting bloodied up. Like, I'm
Right.
okay with that, but like when it just becomes like
like
stuff under your fingernail and
Yeah,
like
show it
eyeballs
just to
being
show
cut
it.
open.
when
Yeah.
it's like morbid and just disturbing.
Yeah.
I cannot watch this
Yeah,
stuff.
but it's not for any like real good reason, and you're just doing it to do it for like the shock value. I'm not a fan either. Especially even just thinking about seeing a fingernail come off of the finger.
Yeah, oh man,
It's like freaking me out right
That
now.
was-
Yeah, right.
the
It's
thing
turning
is,
my
like,
stomach a little.
The movie The Ring to me wasn't scary, but that little like clip that they showed of the film that they watched, the actual Ring film,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point someone's finger goes like down a nail, and then their fingernail like pops off.
Yeah.
That to me made the whole movie
Scary.
bad.
Oh.
I
Like
know-
like nothing else other than that was bad, but that was just like
I just had to turn away as you were saying that.
Yeah.
Like nobody saw that, but I like you're describing it, and I'm just turning away. Like try not to see that.
There's very few things that like will make me completely like cringe, and that's one of them. Eyeballs are another
Yeah.
one.
You know what though? Like that being said, I guess it's maybe because, like I said, if it's not for a specific reason, but sometimes you see the videos that just get posted online about like a real life beheading or someone doing something fucked up. I mean, it's nasty shit, but I don't turn away the same way as when it's something like we just talked about.
That's
which is
interesting.
odd.
I mean, part of it might be editing, but part of that might be like maybe you're a sociopath. No, just.
Well,
but
I mean, I guess that's a
no,
possibility.
yeah, like I have had those situations where like they're.
I'm not saying
Like,
like
I've seen videos like that, and there needs to be something like solidify it for me to make it like horrific.
I think
like,
it's because it's like I want to be aware that there are actual sociopaths that will do that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think putting it in, I guess that like real life context is what I don't want to say makes it okay, but makes it okay for me to watch. I guess.
I think
because
some
like
of-
you got to be aware that there are people like that. I guess.
Yeah, but I think some of it is like your brain almost doesn't want to believe that happened. Like you see the dismembered body from like the drug cartel, and
Right.
you're like, there's no way
Well,
those
even-
parts are really a person.
I saw
you know,
crazy-
like even in the back of your mind.
I saw a crazy one of just a car crash, like someone on a motorcycle had like hit a car or something, and his body was like laid out on the street in like three different places, and I was like, holy shit, man. And it's just I guess it's just to be aware that shit's real, like that could happen.
One that got me, and you don't actually see anything graphic, but for me it was the sound. There was a video, a cop pulls over a guy, and it was like a simple like traffic stop, and it ended up being a guy, I think he was a Vietnam veteran. He had like a horrible PSD and PTSD. Sorry, yeah, and he had an assault rifle with him. And he just started like the cop went back to run his ID or whatever, and the guy just got out of his car with the assault rifle and started shooting him. And because of the dash cam, there's actually audio of the cop, and he's like screaming, like he's like horrified for his life, and like what you consider a cop
Rightfully
like a person in authority. So seeing them like as belittled as they possibly could be, like screaming and like his last breaths, like, and they show this. I don't know if. Well, I guess if you get into the police academy, you see it, but or like when you actually start becoming a police officer. But supposedly they show it to officers, like as a warning, like always kind of be ready.
Again,
for whatever's
it's
happen.
about like you have to be aware. This is real life, and this is a possibility, pretty much every day for you.
Yeah.
You just got to be aware of it. I guess some of that has to do with we've mentioned before about people just being people, and just because they're in certain positions, whether it's a job title or whatever it is, that they've probably gone through almost all the same things that you have in some way, shape, or form. They're dealing with the same bullshit day to day that you are, you know. But this is the job they have. And we had mentioned it with teachers, like, you know, when you're younger, you don't realize that your teacher, even if it's a fairly young one out of college, like they've gone through everything that you've gone through, you know. They know what's up. You're not pulling anything really new on them or whatever it is until later, and you're like, you know, oh, okay, I'm this age and I know all the same shit too, and none of us know what we're doing. Yep. We're all just doing our best.
We're all just doing our best.
You know, we're all just trying to do our best and work at your own pace and your own like consciousness of what's right, and try to do that. You know, and then obviously some people, there are actual imbalances and they're psycho. But for the quote unquote normal people, you're just trying to get through it, you know, the best way you know how.
And it's funny that when you like notice that and you look around, you're like, wow, all these people, they're just kind of like figuring it out along the way, you know? It's like, it's crazy. And like, I try to tell it to my students all the time, like, no one has it fucking figured out. Like, don't worry about like life and what's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna happen, you know.
And I guess it obviously comes from experience, but I know for me, like, I've just been through so many different things that very little shit phases me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be. I don't jump to conclusions. I don't panic on stuff. Like, almost no matter what it is. Like, I can get a call saying like so and so was in a car accident. I'm gonna be like, okay, like, are they in the hospital now? What's going on? Like, let's, you know, be like that calm one to be like, all right, let's just get through to the next step and see what's going on. There's no reason to lose your shit yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And even if it gets to the point where, like, say something like that goes all the way south, like, I mean, yeah, there's obviously emotions and everything, but you also gotta keep it together just to get the next step done. If you have to be involved in any planning thing after that or whatever, or just be there for the people that, you know, maybe haven't been through the same things and react to it way differently and maybe over emotional about it or something. Just try to be solid for that person then, you know, and be like, listen, this sucks. I know it sucks, but there will be clear, lighter days. You know, the sun will shine again type thing.
Yeah.
Which
I think humans we're actually very good at being able to pick ourselves back up after something like, you know, there is always that mourning process, and I don't want to keep this very dark or anything, but, you know, I'm sure everybody in this room has lost somebody or something that they loved, and we do have the ability
my
to...
foreskin. It's like, I just fucked up your whole chain of thought, didn't I?
No, that's okay. You know what? It needed a comic relief anyway, so it's fine. I'm good with it.
Some of it definitely comes, I gotta say, from training too, though. I've been involved in martial arts since I was a child as well. From, like, it wasn't Taekwondo, it was Tang Sudo, which is, I mean, it was like, oh, you've been here 6 months, here's your next belt type thing for the most part. And then wrestling in high school, which really I kind of turned it for me, because that is, holy shit, man. I remember having people that were on the football team going through wrestling practice, like, holy shit, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it is really intense. But what it does for you, not just physically, like, the mental toughness. And if you watch any combat sports, like if you watch the UFC and stuff like that, they almost always talk about it with, like, high level wrestlers too. Like someone was a, you know, state champ and Division I champion and stuff. It's like, just the mental toughness. It's like, there's very few situations you're gonna put that person in that they're not gonna be able to deal with.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I was having this conversation with my girlfriend's boyfriend last night. He wants
wait, what?
Oh shit!
I was like, all right, that's just how he rolls.
Yeah. I wish my life was that interesting. No,
he's a free spirit. I don't know.
My sister's boyfriend.
It's like, that was the big secret you're talking about.
Yeah, no, my sister's boyfriend. He wants to start training in Thai boxing, and he's going to start doing lessons with me when I get back. And I was saying, you know, the best part is that when you start training like this, it's things that used to phase you just don't anymore. Like, you're just so mentally tough or tougher, and you can put up with more crap than you could have in the past, and things like traffic doesn't bother you anymore. It's like these weird things that, you know, a long line at the post office, all of a sudden it just doesn't bother you anymore. And I don't know can't explain why. I just know the difference between when I'm not training and how I feel about life in general, and when I am training and how I feel about life in general, and it's a completely different thing.
It's probably also like a stress baseline.
Oh, without a doubt.
You go through a lot of stress while training, and so that baseline for stress is higher. So when it's a low stress situation, you're just like,
Yeah. You also relieve a lot of stress.
You're getting out a lot of that. Yeah. Like that tension, the frustration, anything built up, testosterone, like everything is getting, you're having a release for it all the time. And it's funny that you mentioned it in that terms, because that's exactly what I'm going through right now. Like, I've been back training, like really training for like the last 4 months now, and I probably took at least a year off, that I went maybe once every other month and a half or something, where like I did something. It wasn't like real training. It just I did something, like maybe I went for a run or I did a kettlebell circuit, but nothing consistent. So and right away, one of the reasons why I was like, I really need to get back is just because I felt that stress building up, and I wasn't really doing anything to deal with it, to be honest. So one of the things that got me back was like, get there so you can do something to get rid of all this. Yep. And again, I noticed the difference in those last 4 months tremendously. It's like almost like a 180 turnaround.
We notice we have all of this energy. We are energy. I think humans are energy. And vibrations and everything we were speaking about earlier. And sometimes you have so much energy to the point where your physical body can't actually hold it in anymore. It's not, the physical body cannot contain this amount of energy you have. And some people, they yell, they scream, they break things, they do this, they that. Or other people go to the gym, hit the bag a little bit, because you got to get the energy out somehow. It just depends on how do you want to get this energy out that your body's having a hard time holding in, because it wants to go out. So how do you let it out?
You have to figure with like the regular 40-hour work week and stuff. So many people just have this pent up energy from just sitting around all day. Yeah. And that's even why they say having the convertible desks where you can work sitting and standing is like so much better, because you're like you're circulating your blood, you're releasing energy. Like.
Well, that's why the rope dart is so great, because it helps in relieving a lot of that energy, and nobody's punching you in the face. So, that helps.
Except for possibly yourself.
Yeah, well...
I was going to say, except for maybe cutting your hand off.
Yeah, but it's for me, it's a great way to direct good energy. It's a great way to get rid of bad energy.
Speaking of, like, you could train and never spar and still have those benefits of getting out all that energy.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to get punched in the face.
No, not at all.
But it's also just being like a common person and like more well adjusted to certain situations. Like, getting punched in the face helps. It's like, because when you do train like that and that stuff has happened to you, we touched on it yesterday, even though nobody will ever know that. But just like all the people that we know that are either professional fighters, amateur fighters, or just people that train, like, they're not going to be the ones starting problems in a bar. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it seems like the outside perception might be that they would be those type of people.
And it's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite. Everyone I know is just like the coolest, like most polite, like people that I know, and they happen to be fucking killers.
Yeah. That's true.
It's just it has to do with.
There are exceptions.
No,
those are like
any
those
rule.
Tough guy, but they're not. It's a completely it becomes a mentality thing.
Yeah, and it becomes a lot of like how you identify yourself, and
But it has to do with just going through that training and getting that ego checked all the time, and getting all that energy out on a daily basis. So, and it's like, I get through this, I'm cool. Anything you throw at me, it's all right. If some guy starts mouthing off because I stepped on his shoes, it's like, yo, buddy, let me get you a drink. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Let's dissipate this because you don't know I'll fucking kill you.
Right. Well, it's funny is because some people don't have that reasoning ability that you just spoke of, where it's like, look, it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. It's like, no, but it's really not, and I didn't mean to sit in your bar stool or whatever it is, and I can move. No, but you shouldn't. It's like, I was downtown I was in Chinatown about a year ago, and I forget what the name of the place. I wouldn't go back again just because of the bullshit that happened. But I was with my girlfriend, and we go up to the bar, and you can order dumplings, because there's a bar in Chinatown. But it's all hipster. It's these freaking hipsters everywhere. And so I go up, and There was a stool right, my girlfriend's right here. There was a stool, nobody's sitting in it, and another stool, and somebody was sitting in it, whatever it was. So she's up there ordering, and I move this one stool, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, "That's my stool," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I was just moving, and I'm just trying to order dumplings. Happy Friday, man. Whatever." He's like, "No, but you don't understand. That's my stool," and I'm like, okay, and I pulled the stool out.
You brought it here from home?
Yeah. Well, right. I said, well, here's your stool. And he was like, well, but, I had it was up at the bar. And then he put, his hand on me. And, for you have to understand, first and foremost, I looked at this guy and I was like, dude, I'll wreck you. It wasn't even a question about it. And then he put his hand on me and I was like, bro, this is come on, man. I'm ordering dumplings with my girlfriend. We're with her coworkers. It's not this big of a deal. It's by the bar, by the front entrance. Bouncer comes over. This guy's about, 6'3", 6'4", 230, 240 pounds. Big bouncer guy. He's like, well, come on, guys. Let's just go outside and figure this out. I'm like, there's nothing to figure out here. I am ordering dumplings. I'm grabbing a drink. I'm going to go back and hang out with my friends and my girlfriend and stuff. No, just come out for a second. I'm like, fine, whatever. Because I don't want a problem. Fine. You're playing fucking court right now. Go ahead. So we go outside. He said, what's going on? I said, honestly, I have no idea. He's complaining about his stool. I'm trying to order dumplings and get a drink, and that's about it. And this guy, who it turns out he must have been a regular, because he just is like, oh, whatever, fuck this, fuck that. And he just walks back into the bar. And I'm like, okay. So, and the bouncer said nothing to him. I'm like, all right. So the bouncer sees this guy every night. So, the bouncer's like, look, we just don't want any problems. I'm like, I'll leave. It's fine. Let me go in and get my bag, and we'll leave. He's like, but we don't, we just don't want any problem. I'm like, I don't even want to be in your stupid fucking bar. And now I'm getting upset because I'm like, you don't even understand. Fuck this. I don't even want to be here. Let me go get my stuff.
It's like, you don't want a problem, but you're making a problem out of me leaving.
Right.
What
Yeah,
the fuck?
exactly. I was like, dude, he's like, no, you don't have to leave, but we don't want a problem. I'm like, dude, I will leave. It's okay. I don't care. So he's like, well, you don't have to get loud at me. And he pulls out a fucking taser gun. A taser gun. Yeah. And I said,
I hope you pulled out a rope dog.
I did. I said,
yes.
Like this. I want like this. Yeah,
range.
motherfucker. Yeah. I pull it right out. I said, let's go around the corner. I'm like, you got to touch me with that, right? I'm like, you won't get within fucking 10 feet of me. I keep it in what's known as a daisy knot. I unleash it, make a quick wrap. I'm swinging it. He looks at, now this bouncer's about 6'3", 6'4"-ish, 230 pounds. He slowly backs up into the bar, shuts the door, and fucking locks it. Now, you're talking about a bar that's filled with people on a Friday night. And this guy was just like, I want nothing to do with you right now. My bad. I thought I was tough because I'm bigger than you and I have a taser. But it's honestly, I'm not tuning my own horn. If we went around the block, I would have absolutely fucking destroyed it. There's not even a question in my mind. I train accurate. I train to hit people in their fucking
yeah,
eye,
I mean,
man.
you train for it, and regardless, you have the range.
I have the range. That was it.
Exactly.
There was nothing this guy was going to do.
Unless you were using a chain and you had
and
to hit his taser.
What I've noticed in a lot of places, too, obviously some of the people we know from the gym and stuff are bouncers, but there's a higher majority of bouncers that are really just big dudes that have no idea what they're doing.
It's
true. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're just fucking big and intimidating looking, and that's what they think.
And they know the bar, the owner of the bar.
Yeah, whatever it is. A lot of them, and I don't want to discredit. I'm not discrediting them bouncers and stuff, because obviously they have a dangerous job as well. You know what I'm saying? You got to just get into the middle of something that you don't know what's really going on, and you're the one who has to break it up. So it's not like it's an easy job or this and that. And for the most part, you're dealing with people that also don't know what they're doing.
And they're probably drunk.
Yeah. So it's like, all I need to be is big, because I just wrap him up and he's not going to move, that's fine. I just take him out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if it really comes down to push or shove, then when a situation like that, you might have the upper hand even without the rope dart.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't afraid of the guy. Tasers, rope, even just man to man. I really wasn't that scared of him because he didn't seem threatening. I've been around bouncers where it's like you could just tell they know that they could snap me in half. They know it. And they're projecting that, and I'm picking it I'm picking up what you're putting down, and it's cool, and you walk away. But this guy was he was just a big doofy fucking guy that is supposed to be intimidating, but it's that's the thing, because
he locked your girlfriend in the bar. Is what happened.
He did.
Did she ever get out? Was she knock on the door hey, you let me out of here?
And then it was funny because she grabbed my bag and we left. We get on the subway, and she's like, I left my phone at the bar. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? I was like, all right, well, we got to go back and get it. So, she's like, well, I'm like, oh, I'm going to come with you, walking up the subway station. She's like, no, just stay here. I'm like, I'm not letting you go back by yourself. I'll go with you. She's like, no, just stay here. She starts kind of like walking a little bit faster than me. Stops. Somebody was walking away from the bar, talks to her. She turns around, comes back to me. She's like, the cops are looking for you. Just like that. And I'm like, awesome. I'm like, all right, you go to the bar and get your phone. I will stay right here. And hurry the fuck up. And that was it. So she did. She went back, got her phone. It doesn't end in any type of awesome thing. She went and got her phone. And we made our escape, and cops never found her.
Which is funny, because if they had given you a pat down and found the rope dart, they would have been like, so you're the one person in this small area that has this weapon.
Yeah.
What is the legality of carrying that around?
I never looked into it because I don't want to know.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's a small bludgeon. So
ignorance is bliss.
It's probably not an issue. I mean, it's blunted, right? It's not bladed, the one you carry around. So it's
a
small bludgeon.
I was thinking that too. Like, it's probably not that big of a deal.
Although
obviously, if it was sharp and bladed, I know for pocket knives it can only be a certain, like 2-3 inches, maybe tops. So maybe that would
is the
go into play.
Like, is the blackjack
that's illegal in New York?
That is, you said legal or illegal? Illegal.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, the thing when it comes to legalities with weapons, it doesn't come down to how dangerous it is. It comes down to, is it concealable or not. That's why things like nunchucks, guns, things like, they are illegal because they could be concealed. You could technically walk down the street with a spear and you're fine. Because,
I had a friend who moved to Arizona, and
I'm sorry to hear that. I am so sorry to hear that, because Arizona, I cannot. Those people are even freaking. I don't know.
We mean those people.
Okay, even worse for him is his girlfriend's Mexican. And they're horrible about Mexicans down there. They hate Mexicans. Like, any chance they get, they'll be like, "Oh, you were threatening me," and it's like, "No, I was sitting here eating ice cream. No, you were threatening me.
Right.
Get in the paddy wagon."
That's why I don't like Arizona or Arizonans, because they are absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
they're
and
insane.
so he one of the first days he would live there, and speaking of them being insane, someone was walking around with an assault rifle, like, in their hands, and so he called the cops, and the cops didn't care, because that's actually 100% legal down there, because you're not concealing it, so that's okay, like, just walking around.
Everyone knows you have it.
Just to give you background, so I lived in Arizona for 2.5 years. I went to Arizona State University. I got a bachelor's degree in communications, and I lived that Arizona life, I guess.
So
real
you got
quick,
liver damage.
I was gonna say real quick, true or false? All the girls there are hot. Because they get a lot of, real big on cheerleading. Right? So
there's also 700,000 people at ASU.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, listen, you could go to freaking Kentucky and find a bunch of hot women. You know what I mean?
I'm saying considerably more, maybe. Or considerably hotter.
I think generally people in higher education are
Can I tell you something?
Attractive.
They were attractive, but they couldn't even hold a candle to the New York women. New York women are just so amazing in so many great ways. I don't care if you're from the city, Long Island, upstate. There's something about coming from New York that you're not a douche. It's like, I don't know how else to put it. I love New York women.
I can agree with that, although to some people you come off as a douche.
Yeah,
and I think it has to do, if we talk about, all the hard stuff you got to go through training, that's what New York does to you just living.
Right,
all the hard stuff you got to go through living,
right.
Just makes you different in that way.
Well,
but go on, continue with your Arizona story.
So Arizona, whatever, they're nuts. I lived there for 2.5 years, and there were times where we would be at parties, a keg party, a college party, and somebody would be drunk, and they would pull out a gun and just start firing it into the air. I would be at people's homes just hanging out, doing whatever. We were drinking 40s back then and all that stuff, thinking we were cool, be in the pool or whatever. Every house has a pool, so that was nice. But people would walk over to hang out, and they'd literally have a gun in a holster, just chilling. And I'm like, what do you really need that? That's crazy.
You know what?
I don't. Need that for?
I agree in the fact that it's I might not want to be around it, but I don't know if I can argue the fact that they should be allowed to just have it.
Well, no, listen. I am for people having guns. I'll be totally clear about that.
Well, I'm definitely not for people getting inebriated having.
No. I'm not for that at all.
So
but if you want a pistol in your home, if that's listen, right to bear arms, man. I am in favor of that. I don't think you should be able to go and carry it or whatever it is, but if you should be able to own a gun in your home, period. This is America.
I don't want to get onto the topic, but I don't think. I mean, some people own I know 22-year-olds that own assault rifles. Like, you don't need an assault rifle. Like,
But
if you have
you might not need one. Maybe he does for some reason, or, he just likes it.
He lives in a in a suburb. He doesn't need an assault rifle.
Hey, you saw what happened with with the Boston bombing, and then you might need an assault rifle at that point when you don't know where the threat's coming from. You have the police looking like the military in your neighborhood, and yeah, they're technically the good guys and on your team, but I mean, you don't know.
But using the same example, if you had an assault rifle in that situation and there was that whole witch hunt where they revealed who the person was and they knew who it was for a fact, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, by the way, that's not the person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you had encountered this person that they knew for a fact was the person and, thought they were a threat, it's like completely different. But at the same time, that I think falls into any range of weapon. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that much of any person in America has a need for an assault rifle. That's just my personal belief.
It is to keep, in my opinion, the government in check, that they cannot in because now it's not a knife versus a gun. Now it's a gun versus a gun. Now I am not going to beat the United States military if they show up at my door. But I promise you, I would take one of those motherfuckers out.
But I'm saying, so the U.S. military comes to your door, unless they have managed to rebrand everyone as terrorists or something, and managed then manage to also convince all the troops of that. I mean, the troops are people who live here.
Yeah, but but you also got to think, yes, but they already convinced them up to a certain point anyway, because they're already in there. They're already doing missions wherever they're doing. So they're kind of good at convincing their people.
Right.
Yeah, because that's all you're around all the time.
But you'd be convincing your people to kill people on their home ground.
Right.
That's completely different.
Yeah, but the propaganda that they could put into it and the way that they can sell it, I mean, it's just... did we mention this the other day, or just maybe not even while recording, but it's just how you market it. A lot of stuff just comes down to marketing. Whether the idea is good or not doesn't matter. But if you could sell it, that's all it takes.
Pomegranate juice.
I just don't know I don't think for a lot of things that they would be able to convince them to en masse
and you
kill.
You might be 100% right, but you can't 100% say that there's no chance of it happening.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say that with anything.
Okay.
That's like building I guess people do it. People build bomb shelters and stuff like that, and in the off chance that there could be a gigantic fallout. But
if it really goes down where it's like the United States government versus Manhattan, they'll just send in drones and bomb the whole thing, and you probably don't stand a chance with your automatic weapons.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have the right to have it, and given that opportunity to defend yourself the best way that you can against something similar, not having just a knife when they have AR-15s.
The state that our country's currently in, with the amount of crazy people that we have and the lack of help that we have for these people, I don't know that we should be there's things
you should have a background check. I don't think you should let any idiot off the street buy a gun. There should be there obviously is a system in place for hopefully weeding out all of the crazies.
But not everywhere. I mean, Florida, they just have gun shows. You can buy.
Floridians they're fucking nuts. I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's Florida. We were talking about it downstairs before. Come on, it's.
But yeah, I mean, I can easily go from New York to Florida, get a weapon there, and have a weapon. And people always say well, you could say that with anything. You could find an illegal arms dealer in New York and buy a weapon. But I feel like the extent that you have to go through to do that is... And, okay,
listen, I'll keep this on air, too. If you want a gun, I'll get you one in the next fucking 3 days, probably, all right? Probably less than that. And I don't even know anybody that could do it, off the top of my head, but I could find it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Very easily.
And the thing is, I actually do want to go on record. I'm not saying I'm for gun control or I'm against gun control. These are the things that go through my mind constantly that I think of that,
And they're valid points. They are. Neither one of us are saying oh, you're an idiot for thinking this. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like about this, is that you get to see the other sides that you might not have thought of, and we're reasonably intelligent, well-adjusted people that aren't going to be no, fuck you, you're wrong. You know what I'm saying?
But I will say, I definitely know, I could probably count on at least one hand a good number of people who own, large, powerful weapons that, like probably shouldn't even pass background checks. Like they like they just they're like ne'er-do-well people that like you really like if they had looked at you twice they would have been like no like this is not a good idea. But like
there should be, and it's weird because like,
and I'm pretty sure they were all bought legally.
There are
but
a lot
I
of
could be wrong.
There are a lot of things that it's like you don't want to. You want the states to kind of police themselves or whatever, or put up their own rules. But for certain things like guns, maybe it's better to be federal. But then again, it's like, all right, the guy on a ranch in Missouri, why can't he have 5 automatic weapons? And the person who lives in Brooklyn, you might not want to have 5 automatic weapons because the potential, if that person does go crazy or shouldn't have had him in the first place and somehow got him, like, to do more damage because there's way more people exist. So it's like, all right, maybe you just let the states deal with it themselves.
Going back to, I feel like I've referenced this a million times and making this slightly lighter hearted. Going back to Key and Peele, did you see their Second Amendment sketch?
I don't believe so.
They're all basically like signing the Constitution, and they're putting all these things into order, and then all of a sudden this one person says like, I think the Second Amendment seems like a kind of weird idea, and the guy's like, oh, it seems fine to us, and or whatever, and he ends up taking out guns like he's from the future, and he's like, I have to undo what you've done from the future, and he takes out guns and he fires at them and he destroys the Constitution, and I want to say it's Benjamin Franklin is like behind it, and he's like, did you see that shit? That's awesome. I'm going to draw that before I forget it. And then the guy, his guns disappear, and he's like, yes, I did it. And then all of a sudden, his guns reappear as, like, bigger, more badass guns. Nice. I just thought that was great. Like, I feel like that probably would have been what happened, was, like, they would just see those guns and be like, that's badass. I kill so much deer with that.
They actually, apparently there are, like, no guns in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they collected all of them. I don't know how they got them all, but they went on a big thing, collected like everybody's guns and stuff. Like, and I don't know if it's everything. Like, maybe you can. Yeah, I'm sure you can still have a hunting rifle, like certain weapons probably.
Like a 22 or something.
Yeah. But they had really cleaned it up for whatever reason. I think there was some type of mass shooting or whatever. But you would think in a country like that, where there are like animals that you don't want to deal with barehanded or even with a Crocodile Dundee knife, that like maybe I need that automatic weapon for, like it's weird that they did it.
Boomerang is not stopping an alligator. You know what I mean?
It's weird that they did it there, is what I'm saying.
It's funny though, because if you look at like most countries, like they'll look at America and like expect us to be like cowboys, like expect all of us to own guns, because like no one owns guns in like England or like
especially if you
even
say you're from New York,
don't have guns. Yeah. Like it's like kind of weird. Yeah, and if you say you're from New York, they think you're probably like in a gang,
and they always think you're from the city and that you have a gun.
Yeah, they always think.
I remember. I want to say it was like my French teacher in like high school or something like that. Old lady and everything, and this was upstate New York. I think she said like that she was in France once, and said that she was from New York, and they asked her like, "Oh, what's it like carrying a gun?" Like that's what they asked her.
I had
she's like 60.
I had a boss that was in Italy, and this guy was trying to like basically like rip him off or rob him. And he basically just told the guy that he was from New York, and he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry," and he like walked away.
It works, man. I was in when I lived in Arizona. We went down to Mexico to Puerto Penasco. They called it Rocky Point. Huge college. First off, I'll start by saying I understand why Mexicans hate Americans, because we go down there for about
just abuse
2
the area.
weeks out of every year and fucking trash the place.
Like
and
the
then
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah,
like when he goes
it's true. Listen, I saw this collegey, douchebag fratty guy. He had a case of like Bud Lights, and he would slant. He's walking down. I'm talking the street, just a regular street. Oh, he was drinking a can. He threw it on the ground. Picked up another one, drank it.
And that's the thing. Like so they think it's like a vacation paradise. Or right. They don't think it's like someone's home that they're going to and like doing that.
It's crazy. But so point being is that I wore. I mean I always had my New York Yankees hat on. And when I was down there, it was basically the way I could just give everybody the middle finger all the time. And so, that being said, I also had my New York Yankees hat in Mexico too. And I was able to actually speak pretty fluent textbook Spanish because I was taking it while I was in college there. And I got really good at it. So between that, and a point being is that one time this cop tried to, he was going to like arrest me for nothing. Which is what they just arrest people for nothing.
So you can pay him off and
exactly, and that's it. And he took out the cuffs and grabbed my hand, like my wrist. I literally pulled it away. I just I ducked my head down and went, Nueva York. Just like that. And the guy went, oh, okay. And he walked away, and that was the end of it. It was just, because they're not going to go after, and I was also able to speak, the big thing is not from being from New York, know how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go after the guy that speaks Spanish, they're going to go after the one that doesn't.
Yeah.
So if you could even just kind of pretend that you know what they're saying, you're fine.
Well, I can tell them what type of dressing I need on a salad. I don't know if that's going to help me at all.
I mean, no.
I'm vaguely brown, so I can just kind of blend in anywhere and
Baby.
just be like, see.
You know what? I actually get a lot. Like, people think that I'm like Hispanic or Latino or whatever a lot. I've gotten it a lot, especially when I like have my hair like shaved basically. I don't know. And I guess more so in the summer when I'm more tan, I've noticed.
I think it's the chin strap. It's the chin strap.
It could be. I've gotten it before. I remember when I lived in Ohio, there was a lot of Mexicans there too, which I mean, I'm not saying it like anything. You would just figure though, being Ohio on that border.
It's weird. I agree.
It's weird because I figured like, how come there's not a bunch of Canadians? Like that's where you think that would be coming from. Like
they got a nice way of life up there.
Yeah, right. But I was like, but that's the thing too. It's like coming from Mexico. It's like now you gotta go. Oh, you just made it into the United States. Now you're gonna go all the way up to Ohio. It's like fucking just stop where you are.
Right.
I feel like
it's a lot of traveling.
I feel like for a lot of people, it's like there's someone that they know up there, and like they've got kind of like a job
without a doubt.
lined up when they move there.
Yeah. But also just being from New York too. One of the things was chicks love that shit in other states. Like, it makes you feel like it might make you feel like you have game when you probably don't, because all you have to do is talk. They just like hearing your accent and stuff.
Right.
Like, oh, say water and this and that, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But okay, I keep saying this as many times as you'd like.
I tell you, man, I did not have a good time with the women in Arizona at all.
Ah, shitty.
I don't know, like whatever, and I have zero game, so that's probably it. I thought the accent might help.
I was gonna say, just going like this, Nueva York didn't help at all.
It's probably
didn't work with the chicks.
Such a like red backwards state.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, stay at Arizona. Do yourself a favor, man. There's nothing.
I believe I wanna.
Well, actually,
the Grand Canyon is beautiful. I did see the Grand Canyon.
In the first
gorgeous.
podcast, we talked about a friend of mine almost stepped on a rattlesnake in Arizona, and
rattlesnakes. Those are like dinosaurs. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yep. No, but it's like just all the like reptiles again. You know, we talked about it yesterday about fucking cats and reptiles and how I don't trust either one of those motherfuckers.
I woke up to my cat this morning, hugging him, thinking about what you said yesterday. I was like, Josh doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You're amazing.
And no one else will know what the hell he's talking
about. Yeah, exactly.
We'll never hear it.
But that's the thing, like with snakes and something, even like a scorpion's not a reptile, but those type of animals too, that like they could kill you with a single bite or sting, and you can't reason with it as far as not obviously not talking to it, but just looking at it and knowing what it's about to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even with the fucking rattlesnake, like that motherfucker's gonna rattle all the time anyway. Like that doesn't mean he's gonna let you go or bite you or whatever. He just rattles. There are obviously no other snake makes noise, so you just don't know. You'd be chilling, looking at the thing, trying to slowly move, and then they're fast as fuck, and you're dead. That's it.
The only animal on the planet I'm afraid of, or it's a crocodile or an alligator.
Crocodile's the aggressive one.
Okay. Well, I don't want to meet an alligator either, but it's the only animal on the planet where I won't even go, even if they're in like a pen with. I don't go near them because they're just nasty. I don't feel that way about any other animal.
It's funny. Have you ever seen the show Archer?
Yes, I love that
and
show.
That's the only thing. Like, he's not afraid of guns, explosions, but he's afraid of crocodiles.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how did I miss that?
You know what?
There's a couple episodes where like he's just talking about how he's like horrified of like crocodiles.
Because if you're like a reasonably logical person, you know how a gun works. You can figure out how a bomb works or whatever, and you can like assess the risk. But you don't know what that snake is thinking, that crocodile or anything, and there's no indication whether it's gonna lunge at you or just roll over and go to sleep. Like,
but that's
just the same look.
It's basically a freaking dinosaur.
Yeah, it's like a cold dinosaur.
You know what I mean?
Brain.
It's like, what the hell? I don't want to go anywhere near those things.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel about your fucking cat. No. Like, again, house cats are pretty cool. Like, I've had them. Like, I don't mind them, but sometimes you just don't know when it's gonna freak out and just swat you with an open claw or something. And I think it's pretty mean to declaw a cat.
Yeah,
that's fucked up, man.
Because that's not like taking off like your fingernails. That's like taking off like your fingertips.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
no, I
exactly.
think that's
like,
extremely cool.
that's-
And I think
that's
people who have birds, like parakeets as pets, I think that's the cruelest fucking thing. A bird is supposed to be flying.
I'm not a fan of keeping birds in cages.
Right, that's crazy.
Well, and
That's
also a lot of
insanity.
times the way they get those birds isn't really the most legal thing.
Yeah.
I know there was the documentary Rio made by DreamWorks that, but no, they do talk about like that's a big thing is just getting a small Cessna and importing like a ton of like exotic birds and making some money off them. And it's kind of weird the things that we keep. I mean, we talked also about weird things to keep as pets yesterday, but it's weird the things that we keep as pets and are like normal accepted things to keep as pets and like one of them, like ferrets, like you actually need a license to own ferrets.
Really?
What?
Yeah,
Really?
in New York, you need a license to own ferrets. And a lot of states, you can't own ferrets. They spread hoof and mouth disease.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
They're like just nasty looking things anyway to me. It's like having
they're
them.
interesting. They're cool.
Not cool enough.
All animals to me, they're just like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it works.
No,
Like,
I agree with that, but that's not something I want in my house all the time.
No, I love I love all animals, but I don't think I'll ever have a ferret. I want. We said yesterday. I do want an African serval cat.
yeah.
Or like an ocelot or something like that. Like I want a really badass cat.
Like I think those are mad cool. Like I really do. I don't know if I trust it enough to have
No,
it.
you'd have to be careful.
And this is another aspect where you're like Archer. He has Babu, his little pet ocelot.
Yeah.
That the name of Babu, like I said yesterday, Salvador Dali had a pet ocelot. And it was
He
named
might-
Babu.
He might have to take your special agent nickname. We have to call him Special Agent Hatsis, because now apparently he's Archer.
Yeah, seriously. Did you hear? They're when the next season comes out, they're no longer calling it ISIS.
Really?
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
I didn't read anything about it. I was like, they're not
Yeah.
going to call it that anymore.
So I don't know if they're gonna like make a deal about it,
yeah,
or if
no,
they're
that
just
makes
all of a
sense.
sudden gonna be like, by the way, we've always been a part of Osiris.
Yeah, right,
Or
yeah.
like,
I feel like
Hoping nobody realizes that it's ISIS.
I feel
hope
like
they
that
make
they'll.
jokes about
I feel like they will.
Yeah.
Because it seems like like South Park would definitely make jokes about it if they had to do that way. It seems like the show where they'll just make fun of themselves.
Yeah.
They're cool with it. And I like shows like that.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't take yourself too serious, especially if you're doing a comedy show. If you think
Yeah.
about it, it's like how serious can you really take yourself if you're just you're trying to make people laugh?
Well, I mean, this is the same show that like all of a sudden they just changed their format. The last season was them trying to sell cocaine.
like a Iran
Yeah.
Contra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last season was weird.
It became
right?
Archer Vice, and they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
started trying to sell cocaine, and
Oh,
like
shit.
it was like
I didn't get
Pam
into
lost a ton of weight because she was eating cocaine, and like,
Nice.
it was like
I didn't see any of
totally
the
different.
last
I
season.
didn't
It was
either.
great though. It was great.
Yeah,
That's
see, I
awesome.
saw one episode. It was just weird, and I was like, I mean, all the old episodes I loved. We would watch them all the time. So.
Yeah.
You know what I meant
That
to
show
ask
is
you?
great.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh, I used to love that show.
All
And then
right.
it kind of jumped the shark a little bit, but
It did. It got really weird too. But the first, I think, definitely the first 2 seasons, maybe 3, but the first 2 seasons are like just to me like classic. Like
It's-
almost every episode is
it's
fucking
really
great.
crazy because that show made me want to get into animation because if you watch it and pay attention, each character, like the main characters, they have like 30 frames altogether of just like them moving their mouth or like Meatwad turning into an igloo or like Frylock's eyes lighting up or whatever, and like there's like just animated GIFs basically that they're replaying.
To anybody who hasn't seen that show, one, you should probably watch it under the influence of something. It'll be a lot better.
Wait,
Unless
this is Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
unless you're 8 years old, then you can just watch it as an 8-year-old and you'll
Right,
probably
that's
love
fine.
it.
I think really the
Um,
first season's great. Second
First season's
season,
great. Second season's still good. Maybe not as good, but it's still good.
At a point though, there is like a fall off where I
It-
feel
yeah.
like it suddenly
I
just
agree.
became they wanted to be weird as opposed to they wanted to like kind of. And they never really. I feel like they never made jokes. It was just kind of someone was the butt of a joke, and
There
I
was
don't
just
know, it
funny
was good.
stuff happening. Like
And Patton
just,
Oswalt was on that a lot.
who was he?
He was like there was the aliens that like came in. They were like frat dudes. Like they
Yeah, yeah,
borrowed
okay,
their-
yeah.
Yeah, that was Patton Oswalt.
Oh, all right. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
He does a bunch of voices on that.
So anyway, though, it's a cartoon, and the main characters are a milkshake, a meatball, and an order of fries, basically. And the fries is like the smart guy, the milkshake is the asshole, and the meatball is an idiot. So,
yeah, almost like a child like level.
but very
of-
kind-hearted,
Yeah.
kind-hearted idiot. And they live in the real world though, so like their neighbor's human.
There's like
and they live in New Jersey.
It's
really
great.
great.
And they live in Jersey.
It's on Netflix, and they're only 15-minute episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you can go through all 2 seasons in probably 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Everybody I've spoken, or anybody that's ever mentioned it, said it's hilarious. This show, I've never seen it.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I haven't watched that show since like it was like
the
first on.
Up there, actually.
And like when did that come out? The first 2 seasons.
It was in 2000 and I want to say
like 5.
I was gonna say
or
in
maybe
between 2002 and 2005. But like, I don't know when the first one came out. I want to say in between there because I know when I got hip to it and what season they were on and where I was living at the time. So it's like in between those.
It's
those
get to a point
there.
where like I mean whatever it is 9 years later I still quote it. Like I love that show. It's like it's such a good show.
My favorite character, not my favorite character, but one of my favorite episodes that I currently remember was the one with Old Drippy. And it's like it's this piece of mold that evolves and grows into like it talks to him and stuff because Master Shake is just like throwing everything he eats and everything in the kitchen, he just leaves it around. So the kitchen's a mess. And Frylock comes in, he's like, what's going on? You gotta clean this up. He's like, clean what up? He's like, the kitchen. He's like, nah, that room's dead to me. And then like this piece of mold grows up and like they start kicking it with him and shit.
Speaking
of, it was a funny episode. Again, I'm not doing this justice because I saw it. Last time I saw it was probably 7 years ago. So
also explaining a visual concept is just completely like. But a really weird show that I think is on Adult Swim also that I started watching recently, Rick and Morty. That show is hysterical.
Don't know about it.
It's so weird, and it's actually one of the writers is one of the main people who made that show, Community.
Okay.
And it's like this weird, like it almost seems like they're playing on like this like Doc Brown and like young dumb kid that comes around with him aspect, but like it's his grandpa, and his grandpa is like a total alcoholic, and he's constantly doing these crazy science experiments and like putting him in danger. And the show is hysterical, and they go so over the top with everything.
What's it called again?
Rick and Morty.
I have to look that one up.
Is it a cartoon?
Yeah, it's a cartoon
right now.
And it's so strange and so vulgar. And if you like, I'm a big fan of like 80s sci-fi, like suspense thrillers and stuff like that, and like those David Cronenberg movies and stuff like that. And they love making fun of stuff like that, like. There's an episode where there's like they turn the whole world into these things that they call Cronenbergs because they look like these just disgusting things that would be like in The Thing or he also did The Fly or Naked Lunch.
Fly's a good movie.
Never
holds
saw
up.
that.
I saw it pretty recently for like the first time like all the way through, and I was like. It's pretty good, and it holds up. Like obviously, The Fly kind of it looks disgusting when you like. I'm not gonna spoiler alert a fucking movie from the 70s just to let you know. So it looks disgusting when he becomes a fly and everything like that.
Person, yeah.
And I don't know if it holds up that well, like convincing wise, but it is disgusting and it is still pretty cool.
I want to say it was like Rick Baker though, or something to do the effects. So like, the effects are really great, and
for that time.
Definitely I watched it probably like a year ago.
I'm saying it holds up. It holds up, but you could tell like all right, they didn't make this last week.
Yeah. You know. But another Cronenberg film was Naked Lunch, which was like such a strange movie. It was about I'm gonna totally cite the wrong author. It's about William S. Burroughs, I want to say, and who was like a beat author, and it's about his life. I know the name.
I don't know his work.
It's about his life, but it's like not like at all. But like it's starring him, and he's played by Peter Weller, who's the guy who played RoboCop, and. It's like so strange and like surreal, and it has these weird this weird creature that keeps showing up that's like part bug, part like sex organ. It's so weird, and it's like part typewriter too because he's like it's such a strange movie.
Odd as fuck.
And it's like it's one of those cult movies that like some people love and some people watch it and they're like, why did you make me watch this? And
speaking of 80s movies, we talked about Gremlins a little.
Oh, yeah.
And how that's my favorite Christmas movie. And how you can buy one of the puppets from Gremlins, too.
Yeah, right now the prop store is having an auction. And, yeah, you can buy...
Propstore.com. And it's awesome because there's a bunch of stuff from like a whole bunch of movies, and you're like, why would anyone sell this stuff?
Yeah, like there's the golden ticket from Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
like,
there was like
such a random
the Chevy, the car from Death Proof.
Yeah,
like
what are they selling the golden ticket for? It's got to be worth so much money.
I don't know, but I know the Gremlin was about. I think it's auction, and they have like, and it's in pounds because it's in London. I think they're having it, but euros rather.
No, pounds.
No, but I think what they had it on there
euros.
was in euros.
England was smart enough to say, I'll go fuck yourself. You know,
and it was, but it was about $6,000. I think it was starting at, or like $5,500 for the Gremlin puppet thing.
That's
but
it.
Yeah, I mean it's not
starting at. Though.
Yeah, it's starting auction.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
so I mean it could be 10,000 when it's all said and done.
That is closer to what I would think. But I would think the golden ticket from Willy Wonka, you got to be able to get tens of thousands.
You got to figure though, these effects companies, they're not making a lot of money anymore. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
They spend so many hours working. That's why there was that whole VFX, like the green out that people were doing and stuff like that.
But if you're not.
So I think they're kind of, because they pretty much, after they do those things, they just sit on them. They just have them, and people aren't allowed to take them home. Like, there's rules against that.
I was going to say...
So it's just owned by the production company.
But if they're not allowed to take it home, then why can they fucking auction it now?
I don't know. I think
after a certain amount of years?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think it's all owned by the production companies, though.
It would make sense.
I'm not really sure. But I know that, like, they don't have ownership of those objects a lot of times, and, like, yeah, it's, like, really strange.
That's odd, especially if they have to house it. It's like they don't own it and can't do anything with it, but then they have to take... their space to house it. It's like, fuck you. If you own it, then you deal with it.
Right.
Like, here you go. And it's also strikes me a little interesting that they didn't see the, I guess, like the CGI coming around, taking everything over, and didn't kind of try to get into that in the beginning. But also, it makes sense where, like, all right, if you've been doing makeup and puppets, what the fuck do you know about a computer anyway?
Yeah, well, I ended up going back to this. I ended up talking about this on our first podcast about Jurassic Park and how the people doing the CG, those were like people coming from like the Disney School of Animation, and like they were used to like animating cartoons, and they were just picking up on this new technology, and like the amount of like computer power you needed to do that shit was like insane. So there was like such a long period of time where they're like, yeah, that's we don't have computer money.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah, no, that makes sense too. It also would make sense to me that they could partner up with some of these people, especially just for like coloring and texture of the stuff that they're trying to create with CGI. You know, maybe they could have some insight to like, well, that's cool, you made this dinosaur, but it kind of looks like a cartoon. Is there a way, because they don't know technically how to do it with a computer, but maybe they could explain to them, like, you know, to achieve what they're looking for.
Well, that was the biggest problem, was that, like, that, you know, that, like you were saying, like, that level of detail and texture, and, like, getting that, because you literally need to be rendering that out. It would take, like, days and weeks to render out that file.
And then you look at it, you're like, oh, change this. You're like, oh, fuck, it takes another 2 weeks. Yeah, no, I get that.
You know, and they also, like, the people, they didn't know how to, like, animate real things. Like, they were animating, you know, cartoons and stuff, which, like, you're supposed to over-animate. So they ended up using, I'm going to say the wrong name, so I'm not even going to say it. Phil... Not gonna say it.
Fuck his name.
But he did all the props for RoboCop and all the things like that, and he ended up, which RoboCop was stop motion before CG, and he ended up like the raptors in Jurassic Park are actually like the way that people now they'll motion cap a person with ping pong balls or whatever. They did that with tiny computers on a Velociraptor rig. And they rigged it up to do those motions because people couldn't animate something realistic enough. And
I vaguely remember seeing something about that.
Yeah, and he had done so much studying on the way animals move that he was perfect for it.
In RoboCop, like, they actually almost, I don't know if they ran, like they just didn't shoot when they wanted to and stuff because he didn't get the suit for it until like the day they started shooting. And so he's into it and he's like, yeah, I can't move in this motherfucker, man. And so they had to kind of strip it down and everything, and then all the scenes where he's driving in the car, he had no pants on. Yeah, because he couldn't sit in the car with the full suit on.
Yeah, and like RoboCop is full of those things. Speaking of RoboCop, actually, before I came here, one of the many things that I was trying to do was I was trying to make a RoboCop illustration because me and my girlfriend are going to cut pumpkins tonight. I'm gonna try to make my pumpkin into RoboCop.
That's kind of cool.
So yeah,
I like that.
figured out,
Remember the Ray Longo pumpkin? I think Marcel made last
Someone,
year.
yeah, someone just reposted them on the Facebook page for the gym, and those are cool as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Was it good?
It's,
Yeah,
it's really
it
good.
looked
I'll show you afterwards. But it was.
I mean,
it was on point.
you have to know like the quintessential Ray Longo picture.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, because it was based on a pretty famous picture, let's say.
Yeah.
Um,
or an infamous picture, maybe.
of Mr. Longo.
And sometimes just having that closure of knowing the picture that you're looking at kind of helps.
That always makes it better. Oh man, I want to shout out Mr. Patton doing some good work with animals. I don't know what show he's on right there, but he is really big with rescuing animals, basically, with dogs
awesome.
and stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing real good work with that. Hopefully, I can find the exact place that he works with a lot. That should be on here somewhere. But I also don't want to waste a bunch of time looking for it. And this seems to not want to.
Which is funny because
load
you're
anymore.
looking for something. I'm also looking for something.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you guys looking for something. So.
Because it's gonna kill me if I don't figure out this guy's name. Cause he's
Loud
a great,
noises. Just. Yeah, this doesn't want to fucking load anymore, so I'm not going to be able to find that picture right now.
There's a whole meme around this effects guy that I'm looking for, which his job at the end of Jurassic Park in the credits is something like dinosaur like wrangler or something like that. And so people have made this whole meme out of it saying like, "Oh, you had one job" and all this stuff. And yeah, he's really responsible for how it looks. Come on, man.
Yeah,
where
like
is
that's a
this?
big job.
Phil Tippett, that's his name. And it's material to no one except for me right now. But yeah, Phil Tippett. And he's really great. You can see he's kind of getting up in years, so you can see he's like now like an old artist, and he has this big white bushy beard, and he looks like he's kind of staring off into space all the time. And but you can see they had to do basically test footage before they really were sold on the idea of CG, and he did basically like stop motion test footage of the scene of when they're hiding from the raptors. Spoiler alert, when they're hiding from the raptor.
Yeah, right. If you haven't seen Jurassic Park,
A movie that came out 20 years ago.
Oh, that's so crazy to think of. That came out 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
no, we're old fucks now.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
21 years ago, actually. And yeah, there's a whole animatic of like stop motion with like little doll kids hiding from these raptors in this kitchen that you can find on YouTube. Just like they put it together as like, you know, to make sure all the shots were gonna look right and everything. And it's really funny to look. It's honestly really creepy because I feel like the only thing we see stop animation for is like, you know, like weird stuff now, like to make something look eerie.
Yeah.
You know, and like Tool music videos and stuff where like they want stuff to look really creepy and like twitchy. And yeah, so
those music
like
videos
that,
always did creep me out.
Like
yeah,
that Ring video.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is the fact that like stuff moves because stop motion, it moves kind of twitchy, and it's just
yeah.
What do they call it? It's like ceramic, or not ceramic. Like Gumby. What's that called when you have claymation?
Yeah,
that's like the Tool.
Wasn't it also Celebrity Deathmatch? Isn't that what they did?
Celebrity
that
Deathmatch
as well?
was, but I think they became those silicone like socket puppets. Like they have ones that are made out of like harder material, so when you move them a little bit, they don't like just get crushed. You know.
There was.
And I think that's what they ended up using.
The Marilyn Manson one ended up on Pawn Stars.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is funny because we talked about that yesterday, but nobody knows. Yeah. So that's why we laughed about it.
We actually, the entire 3 hours, we were just talking about Pawn Stars. We talked about nothing else.
Yeah. Could you imagine if we could stay on track like that?
Yeah, right. No, that's not possible. Especially with something like Pawn Stars, because it's constantly just, you know, about something else that they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jelly Donuts.
Real quick, when I was shouting out Mr. Patton there, he works with fur babies, which is a rescue and referral place out of, where the hell is it located? I don't know, somewhere on Long Island.
Now I understand why all the plugs on like podcasts I listen to are all pre-recorded and they cut to them, because it's so hard not to go off track.
Yeah, it really is.
And then you realize you don't have all the, and you're like, oh, by the way, this is hold on, I need to look.
Apparently, they don't have a location. It is actually in their about page on Facebook. Fur Babies is a small, not-for-profit, no-kill rescue organization based out of foster homes in New York. All rescues are altered and up to date on vaccinations. So I guess it's just a network of people basically.
That's cool.
That are doing it. So that's real cool. Yeah. So if you want a bunch of dogs in your house, I don't mind those. You can hit that up if you want. We're going on 4 o'clock. I think you said.
Yeah, I got
you have to start going.
Yeah.
Damn, plug everything that you want. It was ropedarts.com.
Ropedarts.com.
All right. Or you can also, I googled Rope Dart Academy and it comes up. I didn't see anything on that site though about this awesome T-shirt. Did I not look in the right spot?
No, you did look in the right spot. We have yet to. We did pre-orders for these shirts, so we didn't. When I ordered them, it was people that already ordered them.
Yeah, so you weren't like losing money.
Right, exactly. Because I already did that. You know what I mean? That sucks. So I went a different way this time, and it worked out really well. But now that I see how good they really did come out, we are going to order them and have them on the website. So you can just hit up the store on ropedarts.com, and that should be available. I could probably get that done this weekend, but I would have to order. I'm leaving next week, so I'm trying to not order shirts. I grind the darts down myself. I make the, all these things that, I kind of have to put on hold for about 2.5 weeks.
All right, so
when I get back, we'll have those shirts.
Yeah, bookmark the site then and return to it.
Yeah.
So now
drop an email and annoy him about it if he forgets.
Yeah, that's fine.
So now this is an international competition. Is there a way anyone can watch this outside of those arenas? Or?
It is filmed it is broadcasted throughout China, some of Europe. I believe there's a way to get it in America, but I don't know how to do that. There's, but I mean, it's televised. It's at least in China, I know it's televised.
Someone's streaming.
One thing I want to mention on air that I did at the end, after you, because we went for like another hour or so after you left yesterday, was what I like about one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and stuff, and one of our other guests, Rebecca, who's an author, is like I really like people that are putting an effort towards doing something they like. You know what I'm saying? Like something that they're truly passionate for, and trying to spread it out in a way where it's like, all right, I'm good at this. I really like this. Let's get it out there, and hopefully I can then make a living off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's real to me. It's just really impressive. I like everything, just the mind state of someone that tries to do that. You know?
Thank you.
I've had, we mentioned the quote of I don't know where it's from, but I've heard like, entrepreneurs are the only people that work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week for somebody else.
It's true.
I think that was Chewbacca that said that.
Yeah, it probably was. Which is really good English for him, actually. But, yeah, so I had mentioned that at the end yesterday that nobody will hear, hoping maybe you'll listen to it and hear it. So I'm glad we got to do it again, and I get to tell you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's the group of guys we have, again, we're very selective, and they're all the same way, highly passionate about it, doing things, getting out there, and as I always say, walking the walk. So that means a lot. Thank you.
Without a doubt. What about you? You sticking around, or are you gonna?
I'll be around for probably another hour or so.
Okay, cool. Then we'll just pause this real quick. I'll walk you out. Be a gracious host. I offered you water today, so I'm really proud about that.
I tell you, the experience today, as opposed to yesterday, is like a totally different thing.
We put like a burlap sack over his head yesterday. We threw him into the room.
They were threatening to kill me.
Actually threatened to kill him, yeah.
Threatened to kill me, all kinds of things.
So I'm glad we let you live.
Yeah,
so this is great.
Yeah, we had to re-record, so good thing we let him go.
All right, so I'm going to pause this real quick. All right, we're back. Just had to let Frank out of the house. And then almost didn't know how to turn this thing back on. It was really weird because, like, it says slide to pause. So if you want to pause it, you just slide it like you would be unlocking your iPhone. So I thought, I'd have to do something similar. And also, I'm old school, so I'm looking for, like, a pause button. You know how a pause button looks on a cassette player or a CD player or a VCR or even your DVD players? The symbol's been the same, So I'm looking for that symbol, and it's just not there. I'm like, how the hell do I start recording again? You just hit record. Same way you would have started to begin with. So that threw me off. It's weird how like little things can throw you off like that.
Yeah, sometimes you're just looking for exactly what you want to see and not anything else.
You're like, I'm not an idiot. Why can't I figure this out? And it's something so simple. You're like, maybe I'm an idiot actually. So yeah, we'll be continuing a little longer with this, and then we'll just send everybody on their way. we yesterday we did touch on Comic-Con because you got to go to it. I wanted to the week before actually bring it up, but we never talk about anything we really actually want to talk about, as you would know from that was episode 3. So I wanted to get like, what your expectation is going into it, and then what you got out of it after going, and if it matched, if it was better, if it was worse, if it was, well, actually I like this part of it, and this part wasn't as good as I thought, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
So this will probably be the abridged version because I went over it yesterday.
It was pretty long,
yeah.
too.
It was really interesting. It was really entertaining. For those that don't know, Comic-Con is basically like a pop culture convention.
More so now. Like, it did start as actually about comics and the industry of revolving around it from the artists and all that. Now it's more just pop culture.
Yeah, but it's crazy to see that actually, like, it's so not about comics anymore, unfortunately, that, like, Artist Alley, which used to be a big part of it, is, like, one of the, like, easiest places to walk in. And when I say the easiest places to walk in, like, it's so crowded at Comic-Con that pictures don't really do it justice. Like, you have to, like, shuffle everywhere because there's all these people who are just, I think I said yesterday, like, they're just so many of them are just socially awkward. Even though, like, it's, like, cool to be a nerd now or whatever, and we have all the superhero movies and everything like that, it's still a lot of people who, are super socially awkward, and they spend a lot of time on their couch and they're shuffling around everywhere, or, people who are in gigantic costumes that, can't really make heads or tails of where they're going. And, but other than that, it's really great. So, like, the main floor is sort of like a bunch of vendors that sell pop culture related things. So it'll be, little, figures or whatever, costumes, memorabilia from whatever thing from, Totoro and, anime and, video games and, anything you can really think of. Weta Workshops, which is at a effects studio, had a little display there. They had like I want to say to scale head of Smaug from The Hobbit.
Nice.
And they had a lot of really great recreations of. They had an Urukai in there. A lot of stuff from Lord of the Rings and props from that. So that was really great to see, like, what I assume were props actually used from the movie, although it wasn't really clear in their labeling. I did a lot of photographing that I shouldn't have done. Like, I would be taking...
You rebel.
I'd be taking photos of stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, 5 of the, 8 displays say, do not, photograph. And no one said anything to me. Like, there was a guy walking around, and he looked directly at me while I was taking pictures of whatever Harry Potter exhibit or whatever. It got to the point where I just saw so much stuff, like, there would be things I'm not even interested in that I'd be taking pictures of, and things that I don't even know what they are, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy looking.
Make a cool picture.
Yeah. And so it was really interesting. I feel like I really did miss out on a big aspect of it because I went in sort of blind. I had mentioned, like, as it was, we got the tickets. My girlfriend's dad's friend had tickets and he couldn't go, so he sold us the tickets, and we kind of went, like, we got the tickets, I want to say, like 2 weeks ago. And so we went in kind of blind. We went as the dude and Walter from The Big Lebowski, which for a lot of people just looked like we were poorly dressed people. Like,
just kind of, they might have been homeless and stumbled in.
Yeah, like
they're just letting people in. We can stay warm a little bit, maybe get something to eat. Which
is funny because you mentioned the other day that you've been wearing the blue blockers for like late in the day and stuff. I started because I got the yellow sunglasses for the Walter costume. I started wearing them now, like later in the day, trying to see if that helps my eyes or anything.
It's supposed to help you go to sleep, actually.
Yeah, it's supposed to help you go to sleep. It was really great. But yeah, looking back, I would have gone and kind of planned it more because there was like a lot of panels. Like I mentioned yesterday that I missed like Bob's Burgers and Comedy Bang Bang. They both had panels there that I could have gone to.
Your favorite podcast.
Yeah, I love Comedy Bang Bang. And I completely missed out. They recorded a live show there that I'm now going to have to wait till later in the week to hear.
It does suck when you like would have went somewhere for a specific reason and then you miss it. Like it actually happened to me at the DJ Expo. It was the first year I went. Was this year. It's in Atlantic City. And I'm looking at the lineup for what's going on and I'm like, oh, I would like it's like a whole week long too. It's like I think it's Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, something like that, because that's when DJs are off. So they planned it out pretty well, I got to say. And I'm like, all right, I'm off on Wednesday. I'll just go down there for the day, you know. It's in Jersey, so it's a pretty easy drive to just do for the day. And I guess I wasn't aware of all the times that stuff was happening. So the two things I really wanted to see were actually happening at like the same time, but in different rooms. So I was like, man, the real reason I came here, I can only do one of them. I was like, it kind of sucks.
And for all I know, those two panels were at the same time, and that's like one thing that you gotta like balance. Like my artist, I'm currently developing a graphic novel, and even though I'm an artist, I'm working with another artist who is more suited towards making comics. And he was at Comic-Con as well, and he, intelligently went to like things like, panels about, making comic book art and, storytelling and stuff like that through images. And, I just literally wandered
You went in like a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
Just like, let's try this out.
Yeah, I just wandered the floor and I would try to, say, hey, one thing is you don't want to just grab people and be like, hey, let me take a picture of you, so you have to like hope that kind of who they are, or you get eye contact with them, because you don't want to be like
who they are, like the character that they're in. Right.
Yeah. And so I actually had a situation where this guy, he was Venom from the Spider-Man series, but it was some sort of, I don't know if this is an actual character or what. I love Spider-Man, but this didn't ring a bell for me. It was like Venom, but he was like some sort of like almost like Iron Man armor Venom, and like he was carrying like a rifle and like
what?
Yeah, but the thing was, the difference to me between Venom and Spider-Man, this is such minutia, but it's, Spider-Man has like the Spider-Man eyes, and then Venom has like the crazy kind of amorphous organic, eyes, in like a similar shape though. He had the Spider-Man eyes, so I called him Spider-Man, and he just stood there like, nope. Like, and I'm like, all right, just tell me. And there's a guy next to me like, Venom, Venom, say Venom, Venom, Venom. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking to myself, no, he is wrong. That's not Venom. Like, I know. And then I was like, I don't know, Venom? And he was like, yeah, duh. And
so obviously, you can't tell by this rifle?
Yeah. And so, and I had another situation like that where some guy was Nick Fury, and I thought he was Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. And so I'm all excited. I'm like, yeah, this is a great Snake Plissken cosplay. He's like, nope. And that was kind of the thing people did. They didn't like correct you. They would just go, nope.
Try again, Dick.
But yeah, it was like you were saying, it was like a kid in a candy store. But sometimes it would be hard to get like people's attention to get pictures of them. So I was saying I want to set up next year just a tripod and a light and hang out and just tell people to come over, take pictures and stuff like that, because...
You know what you should do? When you do it, just get any type of like, those long keychain things that people used to use, and just laminate your name. Well, just print something out and laminate it and just put it in there, and I bet you nobody bothers you the whole day.
Well, so the thing is, everyone has lanyards there, though, because the tickets are plastic cards that have like a little lanyard
That's actually how it was at the DJ Expo, too.
Yeah, and they have RFID tags inside the card. So you check in, and it you can check into different events and stuff, and it I guess tracks what you're doing or whatever. And,
that's odd.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I had to register the ticket that I got before the event. It was really random, but they didn't give us any trouble, and I didn't know which one was which. So for all I know, I could have checked in as Jill, and
But if you went the most of the things together, I don't think it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
and you're in costume too, so it's like I guess there's a Jill. What do I know?
What's funny though is like I said, we just looked like we were wearing stupid clothes, and people still identified us. So we'd be walking, and people would be like, "Oh my god, the dude," and so that was really crazy.
They were apparently way better at that game than you are.
Yeah, right.
I guess.
Yeah, I can't even guess fucking Nick Fury. Maybe my mind.
But that one doesn't strike me as one, like that one strikes me as something that you could easily confuse.
Yeah.
Because they're very similar, especially with an eye patch and stuff. You're going to go through your brain, and especially, they're both kind of like the same type of jacket, black, clothing.
To add to it, I had just been at the Necco, I think it's pronounced Necco, toy thing, and I had literally just been taking pictures of their Escape from New York, or maybe it was Escape from LA figure. And so he was on the top of my mind.
Already in it, yeah.
Went over there, and which that was a great display there. They had Necco does those miniature miniaturized prop replicas or whatever. So it's like the 8th scale figures and stuff like that. And so what they had there was like a lot of those are hand painted, or they set up a process. Like I think Nekos are all hand painted, but other ones like they set up a process to figure out how to hand paint it, or automate it. And so what they had there was actually the hand painted references that they use, because the references are actually for some reason bigger than the ones they use for the actual figures.
Was it so it's like a paint by numbers?
Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, they really they look at it and they evaluate kind of the paint, and like, one person can do it different from the way that the original painter did it, but they want to get that same feel. And I think that's really interesting about it, that they're all, and that's why they're so expensive, is because they're all hand painted and stuff. And
yeah, it takes a lot of man hours.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I remember when I was younger, like, they had, they still do, they have the McFarlane toys, like the Spawn toys and stuff, and, like, before the movie came out, my friend had the Marv Sin City toy, and, like, they've since actually changed that to look like, who was Marv? Mickey Rourke?
I believe so.
Yeah.
We can, we don't have to leave it up to chance, though.
Yeah, they, they've, like, now since changed the toy to look like, or figure, or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure someone's going to be like, they're not toys! It was Mickey Rourke, right?
I don't know if I should be in Wikipedia. I meant for IMDb.
Oh, they probably had a portrayed by on the
It probably did, but it's way easier here.
Yeah. Who is this? It is...
It doesn't want to fucking tell me.
Oh my god. Alright.
It's fucking stupid. Just because I went... whatever.
I want to say it's Mickey Rourke, because he's got a brutal head. He's just got a face that you want to,
But now that I'm thinking of, like, how he was acting in the movie, I was like, I don't think it was him, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely someone,
Let me make noises, let you know we're still here.
Yeah.
How come it's not on the first page?
I actually had a podcast I was listening to, and they had, like, a moment where, like, he was making comedic silence, and it was to the length
it was Mickey Rourke, all right.
It was Mickey Rourke, okay. And it was to the length where I was like, did this cut out? Like,
and Clive Owen was in it, who kind of looks like Frank.
Yeah, that's what and we said that yesterday on air, that Clive Owen looks like Frank, and yeah, that was the movie that I said, Sin City, which helped because I accidentally said Eli Roth originally.
Which looks nothing like
which
him.
is weird. Like, I always call him Eli Roth in my head.
And it was so funny, too, because it wasn't one of the ones that could have been, like, real close. Because we had one... Was it us yesterday? This is so bad. Like, I don't even know what conversations I had with what people. Okay. I was talking about Ben Affleck with somebody. And I was like, you know what? He's a fairly good actor. Like, that's the stuff that he's in, especially lately. Like, I like The Town. I thought that was awesome. I saw Gone Girl, and it was great. And the guy's telling me, like, I can't stand that guy. And I'm like, yeah, I understand it. But I'm saying he's still good at what he does. Like, he has some good stuff. And then they start saying, like, oh, you know who else I don't like just cause? Like, I just don't like his look plays into it. He goes, Matt. And I'm like, Matt Damon? And he's like, no, why? He's like, it's funny that you would think Matt Damon just because we talk about Ben Affleck. I'm like, yeah, obviously I would. But he was talking about Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon? Oh, yeah. I kind of
has that weird
put him in
look.
the same dark, swarthy character.
And it's like...
Sort of...
And it's also where, like, he's good because like, he was awesome in Crash and stuff, and I enjoyed Entourage and everything.
I feel like he always plays a great piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, that's why, like, he's a good actor, but he's so good that people think they hate him because he always plays a great piece of shit. And
he has a weird look to him, too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's just a little odd. And I understand not liking that the same way about Ben Affleck. But at least Matt Damon and Matt Dillon are real similar. Clive Owen and Eli Roth is
I don't even know.
Close.
And the thing is, like, okay, so if it was what's his name, like Tim Roth and Clive Owen, like, okay, I could see kind of they look maybe a little bit, not at all, but like, I was way off with Eli Roth. I don't even know where that came into. He's a good actor though.
That sounds like the name of a podcast he should have. Way Off with Eli Roth.
Eli Roth to me looks like who's the guy who plays Spock now?
Oh, like the new ones?
Yeah,
no
the
idea.
New Spock.
Not interested.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the new Star Trek movies, and
I'll be honest, I didn't care about the old ones either, but I especially don't care about the new ones.
I should rephrase that. I'm not a big for being such like a geeky pop culture guy. I'm not a big Star Trek person. And so that's probably a big part.
You know what's funny? It seems to me, because I'm not big into either one either, but it seems to me most people are either Star Wars junkies or Star Trek.
I see that a lot, but there's a lot of people that are just like total geeks.
I know. I there's definitely a lot of crossover, but I feel like it's more maybe just hear about it more so because they'll like fight with each other.
Yeah. I feel like the divide I end up hearing more now is like people who love fantasy but think sci-fi is like crazy. And I think it's weird that like you'll be like, okay, dragons and minotaurs, but then suddenly you're like, hey, laser guns, that's crazy. You're going over the top.
Exactly.
Like,
What kind of sense does that make?
yeah, and like they're both tend to be sort of like somewhat political and stuff and like influence each other. So yeah, I don't really understand the distinction. But then again, it's funny because probably around the same time yesterday I was saying, hey, I'm not a big fantasy guy. They're all white, dirty guys with beards. And...
Well, that was what you were saying about how you couldn't get into Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and but I'm the same way with a lot of
cunt.
like.
I just want to throw that out there. Everybody who just heard that has no idea why I said it, but it's okay. It's just a little inside joke. And,
well, no, I don't want it to be an inside joke. People will be like, "This guy loves the word cunt."
Yeah, what
like,
a dick.
No, it's like, yeah, I hate the word. Like, it's weird for me to say.
Yeah,
so...
and I was gonna elaborate a little yesterday on it about I think it gets overused too for almost like we were talking about shock value for gore, kind of like for comedic value as well. Some people just throw it out there. Or maybe even for shock value as well, but it's like, that's not where you should really use it. It doesn't work well. I like the word. I don't mind using it in saying, like, if someone's doing something, like, extremely douchey or whatever, and you're being like, oh my god, he's being such a cunt. Like, what the fuck? Like, I like it like that, but I think people overuse it in that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I mean, he might be an asshole, but I don't think he's a cunt yet.
Yeah. There's a scale, all right?
Yeah.
I think the worst is just, and the example I was using from Game of Thrones where they said it was, they were actually referring to a woman's vagina as a cunt. And that actually is, like, it's funny because people probably heard that and they're like, oh, they're using 80s slang, but it's actually, like, a pretty old term, cunt, unfortunately. And unfortunately that I have now said it, like, 5 more times than I planned on today. The first time I actually heard that word, I was watching a skate video. I used to skateboard. I used to love skateboarding. And it was a flip skate video with Jeff Raleigh. And he's British, and English people seem to say cunt, like, all the time.
Yeah,
and
noticed that.
He messed up a trick or whatever, and he didn't get the footing right at the end, and he mislanded it, and he just takes his board, and I think he threw his board against a dumpster, and he just screams, cunt! And I was like, wow, what a, like, visceral word. Like, and it really is. It's, like, it's hard on the front, it's hard on the end. Yeah. It's, like, just very, like, it's very, very, like, German. Very,
well, you know what's
cunt.
awesome? Like, because you can say anything with an English accent, and it kind of makes it okay. It instantly adds some comedic value. That's why I actually... and I feel like a lot of accents do that too. It could be an Indian accent, pretty much works the same for me. But that's why I really like a lot of the Guy Ritchie movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, because it's a lot of dry humor that's in it, and just the way they say it makes it so much funnier to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and also, something about the English accent, there is something different about their delivery. Like, they're, at least, like a very urban English accent, I feel like has a lot less hard consonants, and it makes everything come out smoother, and I don't know, it's different. Like, I've definitely visualized, like, scenes in my head that I can only do the joke in an English accent. Like, that would never work as, like, an American guy saying that. And it's not because of, the word bin or something. It's, something weird about the way they speak.
There's such a weird documentary that I watched. And it's about, like, it's basically about, like, 2 families in Ireland that, I guess they've been street fighting each other for generations.
Huh.
And it was cool to watch because, again, everything they said was just awesome because they have these Irish accents and stuff. But it was so weird because it's from so long ago that it's on from VHS. The majority of it.
So it's all, like, transferred over and...
Yeah, and it's just weird because you're like, I guess I'm going to have to say 80s, maybe even up into the 90s, a lot of the footage is from. And it's just weird that it's like there is a place where this is what's going on. And it's been, like I said, it's been happening for generations. And they're just cool with it. Like, it was just, they would just park somewhere like in the woods or on the side of a street somewhere, and they're like just start duking it out because this guy said he was tougher than the other dude or whatever.
That's so interesting.
No formal training whatsoever. They did a little like training leading up to it, like I guess just to be in some type of shape, but they would just be like hitting a punching bag, really not with any type of correct technique or anything like that. I'm gonna try to find if I can find out where if there's like stuff that I've watched, if I can find that in my account, that would be awesome.
It's so interesting to me to see those like weird dynamics of like things that span generations. Like I don't even feel the same. Like I mean, a lot of things I do feel the same way politically as my family, but like not everything. So like I can't imagine being that same way about like hating people, But I guess it's pretty easy to hate people, right?
I guess if you're raised being like, yo, this family's a bunch of cunts, so
yeah,
and this guy beat up your uncle 10 years ago or some shit like that, and then your cousin beat up their little boy 5 years ago, like it's just ingrained in you.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just a different world,
Apparently, I don't know how far this is gonna go back, but when you watch like a sitcom, I really hope the ice cream truck music comes through on this recording. But if it doesn't, then you're gonna be like, "What the hell is he talking about right now?" But anyway,
he's just hallucinating.
Yeah. If you watch like a TV show on your recent activity, instead of saying like Parks and Recreation or you watch Mad Men, it gives you every single episode that you were watching.
God, that's obnoxious.
Yeah. So that
it's
might
gonna take you 6 years to find this documentary you watched.
Yeah, and if it only goes back to a certain point, it's like, or a certain number.
Yeah.
Then it's like you flooded it with all these episodes for no reason.
For a while, I was watching like daily like Vice documentaries just on random stuff, and it would be kind of passively, like I'd be doing artwork and watching them. So like I end up watching mostly stuff about like America or the UK because I would have to be able to listen to it. Like so I couldn't watch like the stuff going on in Bolivia because they would be speaking Spanish and I have only like a rudimentary knowledge of Spanish, so I couldn't draw while listening. And so, like, yeah, I end up watching so many of their documentaries, and they're so great. They touch on so many weird
Vice is awesome.
Things like that, like, just random subsections of the world and cultures and stuff like that. Although, like, I was acting like I don't watch the ones from other countries. One of my favorite ones is, I want to say it's Bolivia. They have these things called cholitas, which are, like, female wrestlers. And it's so great. It's such a great documentary that they do on these women, and their raw power. But just also, it's like it's very fun looking wrestling. It's not like obviously it's not Greco-Roman wrestling, but it's also not like over the top WWE or luchador wrestling. It's like some sort of middle ground in there, but it does seem like it's kind of acted, but it does seem like they really, really get hurt. Well, and it's and what's funny is it's women in dresses. Like they don't change the rules about how they dress because of now taking on this like quote unquote masculine role. Or whatever.
Do they have it in like as a spectator sport where it's in an arena or something
in a ring
like
and in an arena,
nice.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. They have I want to say they have 2 documentaries on it. I ended up watching
even with
2 separate things on it. So
even with what we're accustomed to as like entertainment wrestling with like the WWF, now WWE, and all of those, like it's scripted and quote unquote fake as far as outcomes and stuff like that. They physically still have to do everything that's happening.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, and it is like you would definitely have to be a great athlete. You get hurt, and what sucks about that lifestyle, I guess, is that they're on the road a lot. Like they're in different arenas all the time, constantly performing. There's no time to heal. That's why like not only steroids but other drugs is like a big problem in that industry.
Well, they probably
in the community.
They probably also do a lot of the stuff that bodybuilders do, like dehydrating themselves to thin their skin.
Maybe.
And stuff like that.
I don't know because it's not like they have to make weight, so I don't know if that's as big of a thing, and it's not like they're being judged purely on their like physique stuff too. So it's like it's not as big as a deal as making certain things pop. Just being big is like pretty much good enough. You don't have to be all cut up as well.
It's funny though to look at say like Hulk Hogan and compare him to like first of all it's funny to look at Hulk Hogan and his like build and like the people back then in their builds and how they pretty much just wore their shorts higher if they had a gut. And like now it's like, you know, John Cena. But it's also funny to look at, like, it used to be like Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and like these like
Undertaker was my favorite wrestler, man.
Yeah, and they were all like characters like Coco Beware and stuff like that. Now it's like John Cena and, you know, just guys with names that wear underwear and are buff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're just using the real names. I also liked Shawn Michaels. Speaking of real names,
and I feel like that was probably that was start of like
that. I mean, I was gonna say it was one of the few, like, because you had Bret Hart though and Owen Hart,
but he was like Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah,
like,
and that's also I want to say like closer to this generation than Coco Beware was. Yeah. You know,
and I
that
don't
was like one step back, like once removed.
And really. I don't know if Bret Hart was really like just a crazy rock star or whatever, but like, you know, he put on that like persona. Like he went out there, he had the. I'm trying to remember.
He had those little glasses and stuff.
Yeah, and he had like the greasy Jerry curled hair or whatever. Like not Jerry curled, but like
yeah,
and like he fit like a persona.
It's like he probably had. It's like if he didn't put anything in his hair, he'd have a Jufro.
Yeah,
that's what. That's the type of hair he had.
And you know, that was like around the same time as like Goldberg and stuff like that. Like people that didn't look like they could at all wrestle. Like he was just overweight and gold. Like that was his ability was to be gold.
I mean, Yokozuna, Earthquake,
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow was the man. Dusty Rhodes, like he looked like you. He looked like your degenerate uncle that like the family kind of disowned and stuff. Yeah. And might still be living in your grandmother's basement. Like
and actually going back to the Carrie Elway's, tell all about the Princess Bride. Andre the Giant
was in that. Yeah.
And he was like first of all, his character was being a giant, but he really was just this gigantic like mammoth of a man. And
well, it's not like he could have played a hobbit.
Yeah. But they talk about in that book about like, you know, who he was behind the scenes and why he was able to drink 70 beers or whatever. You know, not only because he's gigantic, but because he was in so much pain from all the physical exhaustion.
But he was something like, I think he was like 7 foot and 520 pounds or something like that.
That's crazy.
Like, he was a big dude. I remember like the biggest thing in the world was when Hulk Hogan body slammed him, because like nobody was ever able to pick him up and do anything.
And I feel like that was part of why his back was ruined, right? Was he ended up getting really hurt by
I don't know if it was just that. I mean, it could have been everything over those years. Like you have no reasonable expectation to think your back isn't going to be fucked up after all that.
Yeah, or just being a 500-pound guy and expecting your back to support that. You know?
So but I remember like watching it as a kid. I was like, oh, it's the coolest thing ever. I remember watching it after, like when I was older. I was like, honestly, he kind of jumped into it. Like Andre the Giant helped him out with that.
Oh yeah,
he wasn't he wasn't picking him up and body slamming him.
But if you look at all that stuff, that's how they do it. They're always jumping into it, knowing exactly.
Yeah, you have to like it is a subtle art, because you have to learn how to land the right way, especially when they're doing this crazy stuff off of like the ropes and jumping and everything and doing flips. Like, you're getting hurt. Like, again, the outcome might be fake, it might be scripted, but you really physically have to do everything that's happening. Even if it's a breakaway table, you still have to go through that table. Like, you're getting cut up.
Yeah.
They would purposely have, like, razors in, like, their, like, wrist warmers or something like that hidden, so, like, they can, like, cut themselves open.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, there's no way I'm ever going to do this. Speaking of the fingernail stuff, there's no way I'm cutting myself open.
Well, I mean, if you get your eye beat up enough, they'll have to cut you open. So
yeah, but I'm not doing it. That's the thing. Someone else can do it. I have no problem.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
okay.
I cut my hand on a glass at in a restaurant once, and I had to go to the hospital and get stitches there. And I'm not the type. I can look at it and be like, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not freaking out. I'm like, all right, I'm definitely cut. I'm probably gonna need stitches here. Let's get me somewhere that they can do this. And I remember the doctor like, all right, we're going to numb you up. And I was like, oh, I can't watch you put that needle into the cut to like numb it up, you know? And then after he did, because I hate needles, you know what I'm saying? I used to really, really cause problems when I was like younger and had to get shots until I was in middle school, and like some girl had TB, so everybody had to get a shot.
Oh, damn.
And they did it just like, you know, in school. They had everyone come to the gym, and like, and it was an assembly, and everybody had to get shots. And I'm like, well, that's how I got over it. I'm like, can't bitch out in front of the whole school. I'm like, I put out my arm. I'm like, go for it. And I remember like they have to get like a little bubble or something, and she kept fucking it up and couldn't do it. So like she had to do it like 2 or 3 more times, and I'm just like, oh my
That was
god.
trial by fire. Right
Yeah,
there.
I'm like, you fucking asshole. I'm like, you know what this is doing to me right now?
Well, that's why I feel like I got over because there's just so many lovely phlebotomists that take blood and you know you have to kind of not seem like you're like
You don't want to be a little bitch, yeah. And I remember that like when I had to get stitches in my hand, the doctor was like, he's like, listen, we're either gonna do this or we're not. And I'm like, all right, here you go. And he did it. It was no big deal or whatever. And then I'm just watching him sum it up. I'm like, oh, this is weird because like I should be feeling something, and it's just nothing. I'm like, oh. It was so odd.
I remember when I was a kid, I was definitely afraid of shots, and I remember my doctor. I actually talked about this recently. My doctor, to calm me down, reassured me, "No, don't worry. The needle is very sharp." Which, like, I'm a little kid. Like, okay, no,
it's like, yeah, that's what's scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah, like thinking back now, okay, if it was a dull needle, that would be horrible. You'd pretty much have to beat it into my arm.
You don't know that as a kid.
But yeah, you make that logical step. I guess. I mean, he was from some other country, so maybe that was his like concern as a child was like dull needles or something. But yeah,
maybe he was an ex-heroin addict. You know?
Yeah, and it's like he just told me like very very calmly and like so logically like, but don't worry, it's very sharp. And I'm like, how the like while I'm crying as a little kid, like how is that supposed to help?
This is how bad I was when my brother was 4 years younger than me. We both had to get shots at the same time. So let's say I'm somewhere between, I'm going to say 8 and 11. And it took like 2 doctors, about 4 nurses, my mom, to physically hold me down because I did not want to get a shot.
That's the
and I'm
first arm
crying
bar
and
he ever
yelling.
encountered.
Yeah. And I had to get 1 shot. My brother, on the flip hand, had to get like 4 and was 5 or 6 years old. I mean, he sat there watching him do it, put 2 in that arm, put 1 in the other arm, didn't make a sound. Like I said, now I'm totally over it. I give as many shots as you want to give me. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, let's get it over with. Just stick it in, bitch.
Oh no.
Yeah. Right in the cunt. Anyway.
Oh my god. Anyway, on that note, I do actually have to wrap up.
I did find. You found it. Yeah, I found this movie about the Irish fighting families. It's called Knuckle, and it's on Netflix. It was pretty entertaining. It only got like 2.7 stars. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a lot of home video, but like this guy had heard about it from not even from Ireland, from fucking England or something. Heard about these families that have been fighting and went and tracked them down and shot for like 10 years to make this documentary.
It's funny that you say that, like, from England. Like, it's so, like, that's like me hearing about something in Connecticut.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because I was going to say that earlier. Like, if you live in England, like, you can very easily, like, go on, like, a weekend trip to Germany, which is, like, another country.
Well, they take planes like taxis there.
Yeah.
Like, little planes like taxis. When I was there, you could go anywhere, and it's like, almost costs as much as a taxi, like $10.
Yeah.
You go on a plane.
And you have to think, so like some people come to this country and they think it's as small as other countries, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll see the Empire State Building later on that day, we'll go to Disney World. And it's like, no, this is actually a very large country.
Yeah. So I don't know if I said the name. If I didn't, it's called Knuckle. It was pretty interesting. It was cool. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining at least. And it was just fun. Some of the fights are pretty funny too. Because they have, like, they make their rules, like, they police it themselves and everything. And even though they're street fight, and they're bare knuckle street fights, they kind of have a code, you know?
That's
and
interesting.
Because I specifically actually remember a part of it where one of them kind of, like, cheated, basically, like, didn't really adhere to it, and they fucking called him the fuck out on it. They were like, you could never fight again then and shit. Like, it was pretty serious. So, it was pretty cool. Check it out. I'll thank Frank again for coming through, even though he's not here. Rope darts. I always want to say dots after it. It just comes out weird.
I just want to call them rope daggers. I feel like
that's fine.
Because people
I think he said that was acceptable.
Yeah, like everybody that's heard about rope darts, like you have to actually look it up and see what it is. Because I said yesterday, like someone is definitely thinking it's like a slingshot with a dart, and he's playing like.
No, I think you're the only one thinking that. I really honestly think
like,
you're the only one thinking that.
I think unless like. I mean, I've never heard anyone refer to a dart as anything but, like, something sort of small.
It's like a garden hose with a lawn dart attached to the end
even
of it.
Even in D&D or something, like a dart I feel like is still smaller than that.
Yeah, and then if you think of, like, a blow dart, that's a very small, just like a needle, really.
Yeah, so that's why, like, I feel like, yeah. And he said yesterday, actually, it's perfectly fine calling it a rope dagger. So I'm gonna motherfucking call that shit a rope dagger.
And I can see where you're coming from in your assessment of it as well. Maybe it's because I knew a little about it before.
Yeah.
So even just hearing it, I was like, oh yeah, I know what that is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
But like, you can totally imagine someone be like, yeah, let's go down to the pub, play some rope dots. You know, like.
It's swinging around like on a rubber band, the dart trying to get bullseyes and stuff.
God, it's so horrifying. Imagine people drinking.
Yeah, exactly. At a bar trying to do that. Oh, you know what? I wanted to mention because I saw it yesterday real quick. Didn't we talk about the phrase "mind your P's and Q's"?
No,
we didn't do that. Maybe it was with somebody else. But anyway, I've seen now 2 different sources come up with it, explaining the origins of it. I think it was all right. With Bar Rescue was one, and because they did a place locally in Long Island in Huntington, and they named it P's and Q's. So he was talking about how it was mind your P's and Q's came from like bar culture in like England or whatever, because they're pints and quarts. So it was like to watch how much you're drinking. Like, don't drink too much and get out of hand. Mind your P's and Q's.
That makes sense.
But what I saw yesterday, that's why I brought up Pawn Stars, actually, because it was on Pawn Stars. When the little fact blurbs, like a pop-up video that come up.
Like a pop-up video.
Somebody, I don't know how it got brought up, but they were talking about P's and Q's, and they were saying how it was it came from like a Navy term, again, in the bars, but because they would drink pretty much all week until they got paid, and then the mind your P's and Q's would be like to pay your tab for all the pints and quarts that you had had during the week. So I'm not 100% sure which one is more factual, but without a doubt, it's definitely from drinking. So it definitely means pints and quarts, and either to be a little responsible and don't be a dick when you're drinking, or to just don't forget to pay your tab before you leave, I guess. So on that note, we will totally end it. I just didn't want to. There's no way I was going to remember that till next week. So
everybody remember
I need to force
tab.
it in there. Yeah, I wanted to get it in there. I thought it was a cool little thing. So thanks again for listening. We'll have some other guests here coming through in the next couple of weeks. It's just we gotta plan it out where we all can get in the same place at the same time. But we'll try to have some cool people on.
I think next week was the Cheech and Chong puppet show. Although the puppets don't come through in the audio,
yeah,
it's really worth it.
It's like we're gonna have. It's like having a famous mime on the show.
Well, that is true. Actually, Marceau is going to be on next week, so stay tuned for that.
That should be.
I think we're bringing him back from the dead because I want to say he's dead.
That should be very, very riveting. It's like you had something against him. Like he was like, I want to say he's dead. Like, I hope he is. All right, guys, that's it. Check us out next time. This is now on my own website, djtracktion.com. You can find our podcast there. iTunes, Stitcher. Somebody told me it's on Podcaster, which is an app, which is cool.
PornTube.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. And at some point we'll be on YouTube too. I'll got to figure that one out. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. If you ever want to suggest something or somebody cool, you can tweet me at DJ Tracktion or email at djtracktion@gmail.com. We're really easy to find, so do it that way. Until next time, peace the fuck out.